Hey everybody, welcome here on a wonderful Wednesday afternoon to Series E Apex Legends. We're keeping things rolling here in Season 6 as 2023 continues. My name is Yeso, back to be your host once again. I hope you're all excited for some fun Apex Legends action here tonight. Do want to break things down though as we jump into things on how Series E works so everybody here is on the same page, whether you're a longtime watcher or brand new fellow joining us here on the show. So let's jump into it really fast. Okay, Series E is a professional esports open circuit that absolutely anyone can join across multiple different titles, okay? We've got Multiverses, we've got Guilty Gear Strive, and of course Apex Legends. Now, the way things work is players and teams come out, they play in open qualifiers, and the best of the best make it into Series E. Now, what does that mean for them? Well, players will get the opportunity to sign a contract, they'll get signed by one of our partner brands, they'll earn a monthly salary, and get to compete weekly for points and prize money. In Apex Legends, they'll play every single Wednesday night against some of the best talent in the Apex scene from all across North America. So, if you have any further questions, you're looking for more information, you want to see how you can get involved, make sure to head over to esportsarena.com today and check it out over there. It'll have answers to all of your questions and more. Now, as we turn our attention here to tonight, of course, the partnered squad's still trying to figure things out this season. Of course, without open nights, the competition is stiffer this season. You are always playing against very tough competition every single Wednesday, and that is your only opportunity to accrue points. So the teams have rightfully struggled a little bit early, looking to get their feet under them. If we look back towards last week's competition, of course, you may remember things were a little wild and wacky with the latest update coming out, but we were able to run 4 games last Wednesday night. And of course, that was when we saw the dominance of Luminosity. They were incredible across those 4 games and were our top finisher last Wednesday night. We'll have to see if they are back here tonight, because of course that is a team that a lot of people have eyes on going into London here at the end of this month. So looking forward to seeing what they continue to do within and without of Series E, but of course the eyeballs will be very much on which one of our partner squads could really have that first standout performance here this season. A lot of these teams have yet to really separate themselves from the pack, but every single Wednesday night is an opportunity for them to change the storylines here and really put themselves at the forefront of Series E, and of course continue to hone their skills against very talented players here in the scene. So very much looking forward to seeing who comes out on top on that front. If I'm having to take a pick, I'm keeping my eye on definitely Team Aegon by AOC. They've had some really okay performances so far. Again, across the board, the partner teams have struggled, but I've seen some really good signs of life from Aegon by AOC, and I'm hoping that they can build off of that here today. So definitely keep an eye on them. But let's not waste any further time, folks. We've got 6 games of Apex Legends ahead of us here tonight, and I've got a couple of friends on the cast that will be bringing you all the fun. And of course, I'll be here to check out highlights and break things down in between the games. But let's not waste any further time and get right into some Series E Apex Legends.
Exciting to watch. Almost big Matt Pickett vibes from back in early seasons of Series E. Now Slepon taking a lot of damage, and I may
Even shots are starting to connect with what he does, and they're going down Sung, making the thing sang right there.
As we hop back on with Nerf. Nerf looking like they want to close in another fight. Forsey with the shots, and goodbye to
So this doorway and those windows, and they should be able to fight it out. Meanwhile, Intel getting into another battle, clear way across the map. Intel breaking.
Mike and Knight are getting aggressive. They got the first knock. Actually, Z Davis once again with that charge rifle, but Bronzy.
No, Eccentric from above as well. So
you see what Eccentric's up to. They're making the flank on down below. Touch E1, put it down to coming through. Now it's a 2-on-2 situation. Maybe a 2-on-1. It is a 2-on-1.
Good afternoon, good evening, and welcome back to Series E. I gotta thank Yeso for the introduction, as he was looking oh so relaxed, laying back in the chair. But here, T-Squared, we get to play a little bit with relaxation, but really, once we get into game, it is just seemingly back-to-back action for the last couple weeks. Before we do that, let's take a moment, break down what we're going to be seeing today. It's going to be 6 games of Apex Legends, 3 of them going to be taking place on World's Edge, and the other 3 on Storm Point. You want to break down the points for me, T-Square?
Yeah, of course. Happy to be here. Happy to see you next to me, D. You know what would make Yeso a little bit more relaxed, though?
What?
A beanie.
Yes.
You know? Where's this beanie? We need an Esports Arena beanie immediately. But let's get back to the action, all right? We're here because it's the Pro Night. You know what it is. You've most likely seen Series E for a handful of different games. This is the best time to watch some Apex. We're 2 weeks away from the ALGS playoffs in London. These teams are getting prepared right now. We had recent updates that happened. Horizon's back and fixed. The new split on Olympus is going to be there. But it's all about tonight and these 20 teams that are going to be competing. $2,000 up for grabs, and these are the teams on your screen.
Yeah, it's important to take note. You know, you're going to have some returning faces. Of course, our partnered squads are the ones to really keep your eyes on in terms of their consistency throughout the season. But even now, some teams are swapping up their rosters, trying things out as different players take breaks on some days. As, like you mentioned, T-Squared, today's games are really coming in the middle of what is a ramping up section of the year, and it's so early on as well. It's our 6th Pro Night here in Season 6 today, but just tomorrow we've got Oversight playoffs going down, like you talked about, playoffs for international Apex Legends happening in such a short time frame that really what we're seeing here today can still certainly be called, I think on everyone's count, even the pro teams, a ramping up, an experimentation, a what is working for us that separates us from every other squad.
That's a great point, especially with the Oversight tournament that's going to be taking place. Taking a look, you got SSG coming in with Frex Design filling in right there and then dropped. I'm excited to see what this ESA team's going to do. We got DZ in here. Their full roster is going to be popping off. CLG, a lot of heavy hitters coming through. But don't forget about our partnered squads. We got Esports Arena again. Aegon by AOC turns his back. He took a little bit of a break, but he's back, and he is such a big part of this team. To see him involved is going to be great today. Team Intel, love what they're able to do. Mike and Ike, up-and-coming team. And you know MJ is going to be popping off. Razor's been looking a little bit better too. And then Team Tyson. That wraps up our partnered squads. And like you mentioned, we are pretty far into this season. It's kind of flown by, but again, it's all about practice. It's all about getting your squad ready for tonight. Also, Nasky and his squad. We got a little mix of EU and NA today, and that's always a good battle between the two regions.
We've even got some South America thrown in there. Leave no witnesses, all the way to what I think should be the right of your screens, because it's the right of mine. We're 5th place coming out of the Pro League in South America, and they're going to be heading to LAN in London in like we keep saying, just a few short weeks. So I'm really curious about their performance today. I know scrims have been a little tough on them, and as those results keep coming out, I feel like it's at the best of times they in esports arena that are really in the mix. We've got a lot of great up and coming, like you talked about, North American talent today, though, that's really going to test the limits of this squad and the regional strength therein. I want to bring it back to CLG, a squad that you highlighted earlier, specifically with their shift here, playing with Abrolele today. Something that has increasingly been, I think, a point of focus among the competitive Discords, Reddits, what call you.
Really always fun to watch. One of my favorite players, and is going to continue to be one of my favorite players of all time. I mean, we see Buff Pathfinder in there. We have to, whenever you think about Abrolele, just think about Pathfinder in general. The dude was an absolute monster on that. I'm also excited to see how GS Bird, Boney Tony do, and Sleepy Panda. That's a pretty underrated roster. You got Hockey's, like you said, coming in with this Nasky team too, and it's a very kind of thrown together type of teams here, but it's all skilled players. We have maybe like 4 or 5 thrown together rosters, but we've seen these teams do really well in the past, and even these EU teams have come through and won in NA lobbies. So don't count anybody out. I think that the first couple games are going to be extremely important. It's all about how you finish, but you do want to set the pace and try to get a good chunk of your points in the first couple of maps.
Yeah, it is a very momentum-based game as always, and we'll have those few teams that really hit their stride on the second map, but whenever you get ahead in an individual game, it really is about accumulating that momentum that we talked about and turning it into a great position, turning that into more kills, and continuing to cash in. When you're on a roll, you've got to keep it going, and that's something that I think specifically defined one of our partner squads, Mike and Ike, just last season. I've actually been surprised by their performance if we think of just last week, where they ended up finishing in 14th, a very different sort of game, or 6 games in this case, from them just 7 days ago. And while I know that we had the new year, new me, I am hoping that for Mike and Ike, that last week proves to be more of an exception than the rule.
And that's why we play week after week, and that's why we play so many games throughout the season. And keep in mind that Mike and Ike starts off fairly slow. They picked up a lot of momentum in Season 5, and then they popped off. Maybe they just need to get a feel for the lobby. Every lobby is different too, which makes it very, very exciting. But I got a lot of faith in this squad. I think that Silent and Wizard have been really picking up their game. MJ continues to improve. But I really do like that mention of CLG and Abrolele coming in on there. They've ran a lot of unorthodox compositions. I think that they're trying to figure out what their play style is going to be. But you have one of the best shot callers, you have one of the best slayers on your team. So it's just a matter of trusting each other and going with the amount of knowledge that they have in the past. There's really nothing to be worried about. Again, come out, set the pace early. Every lobby is going to be different. I want to see what type of legends are going to be picked. We know that the meta is constantly changing, but we really think that, again, Valkyrie, very strong still. Horizon, very strong. Seer, we're seeing a lot more Cryptos coming through, a lot more Bangalores as well.
Yeah, Bangalore has really been the legend that just makes me a little bit upset playing ranked this past season. Playing up against Bangalore at close range is something that I've even seen translated from my very own ranked lobbies onto the professional and semi-professional stages in both Challenger Circuit and ALGS, where squads that like to play aggressive, that really like to get up in your face, have been opting into this Bangalore Bloodhound Power Season 1 combination. And while we've had some teams divert into that, I think it bears mentioning that teams like Luminosity Gaming, who finished first in last week's games here at Series E, have gone in the complete opposite direction. They're picking up Gibraltar again.
Again, it's kind of weird to see Gibby fall out of style because he was almost 100% pick rate. So why would you switch up something that was so successful for so long? Once they saw that Maggie's ball was going to stop the Gibby bubble, it was a big shift in what was happening, but no one's really playing Maggie. Realistically, the only person we've been seeing playing Maggie recently is actually Abrolele, who we were talking about beforehand. So I like the Gibby pick. I still think that Gibby's very strong. He's extremely viable, and if you're comfortable using him, then why not continue to do so?
Yeah, we've got a lot of legend diversity right now, given the balance changes that you keep talking about, and the way that that can influence our games, not just here, but on the larger Apex stage as a whole. We've got all those questions. What we're looking for is answers, T-Squared, and where we'll find those is in our very first games that we're going to find in just a few moments after we take a short break. Welcome back to Series E Apex Legends, where we are already missing some players. We've dropped into the very first game of the day here on World's Edge. Designful goes down behind the crate with SSG in a fight for their lives. Who will survive, Tom? Can Drop to make this work, or is it a head for the hills kind of moment? With Razor at your back, I'm honestly not sure if you can escape.
Wow, he already has his Horizon ult too.
Ow.
The game just started. Probably popped an ult excel throughout all of that, but this is wild to see Razor coming through and winning this fight over towards the thermal station side. When you look at this zone, it's going to be pulling over towards thermal station. We're heavily favoring over towards the southern side. And this fight means that much more now. You can't get away from Washi. He's on the prowl over here with the Seer. I'm not quite sure if Drop was able to locate where those banners were to grab those. Maybe he could go for a res outside of the zone. But it's tough when the zone is rotating down over here. You know that players and teams are going to be coming this way as well. So great job from Drop getting away. Great wall bounce, escape, use of the smokes as well. That's the legend that you want to have when you're trying to make some moves. But that's some points going on over towards Team Razor, and that's a great start for Team Razor. If I am in their position, this is what I'm doing. I'm hunting over towards the southern side, assuming that Drop is going to try to camp this out and then go for that respawn over towards the very southern side of the map. That's exactly what Drop is doing. LG is rotating over from that tree lava siphon launch site area, coming from east to west, and now Drop is not going to be in a good spot, but they do have Razor in a position, and this could potentially help out Drop and the squad. But again, remember, even if you were to go for the res, it's going to be tough, Dia. They'd have to pick up Razor's loot, and at this point, LG's not in really a good position to finish off these kills.
The thing that really scares me about LG right now is that, well, yes, they aren't positionally in a good spot. They've got some really heckin' strong legends to make things happen, running the Octane, Bloodhound, and Horizon. Mobility is their middle name, and honestly, if they keep going, it may be their first. CLG, though, trying to make some moves themselves, have a very different control composition. Abralele on the rate, with Nano pulling out the classic Caustic, and Mamba starting to fry with this Mad Maggie. They are entry fraggers, and no one's stopping them on the way in. Mamba gets the knock. Muffins goes down on the other side to Nano, and Team Milk are no more.
Yeah, spoiled milk. That's not a good thing. What a job there. Coming in from CLG. Interesting team composition. It's not going to be Abralele on the Maggie this time. It seems like they're really enjoying Maggie, and you can see why. The ball bouncing around in that donut area, coming through and doing some serious work. Great shots as well. Follow up with the R301 as we see something a little bit more chill. It's Esports Arena. They're vibing, and they're over towards the countdown side. And you know if they're coming from the countdown side, it's going to be pretty heated in terms of rotations eventually. But for now, they're just waiting and hoping that another team walks on over towards their sites. Because look at their loot. It's looking pretty solid. I mean, that longbow, it's not really popping off. No attachments coming in for the 1-2. Not the best scope. Do have the purple mag, so that's going to be nice. The armors, though, looking sexy. They're going to be feeling good if anyone was to come over towards their side. Razor getting eliminated by LG. We'll see if Dropped and SSG are going to benefit from that. But DZ now caught out in the rotation right outside of staging.
It's that overextension in the south that really bites Razor. It's why getting these reps in is so important. And, well, it's unfortunate to see them go down this early. Missing out on placement points for the first game isn't necessarily the end of their run, and may very well have taught them a lesson they can use in games number 2, 3, and beyond. Dark Zero dropping down onto this low ground are in a skirmish of their own, but much like Esports Arena just off to their north, they seem to be trying to avoid a fight to, I'll say, a little bit less success.
And it's tough because that's a hindsight moment. I think that's a great point, Dia. When you look at things, you say, all right, well, we were in the zone. What would have been the best play? And realistically, when they have Horizon, take that Horizon Q, go up on over towards the high ground in Thermal Station, and lock that down. Then you could locate where Dropped is and decide where the rest of these enemies potentially could be. They got a little bit too excited, realized that teams were going to start rotating in, and oh, that's a feels bad man moment. The nade, the thermite right to your own face, and there goes the Maggie ball.
No shield swap either. It's going to be a full ape, it appears, as we've again got this Maggie and Caustic combination that's gaining popularity with wall bounces like that. Hockeys can make anything happen. He's going to slide in here, see if he can finish off some other players, but BWC, they're gone by the time he gets there. And Betas, what are we going with here? They're in another round of trouble as it's Luminosity that run up on them, picking up 2 knocks and leaving just Oirain left in the mix.
LG is here to play. I love watching hockeys, especially on Wraith. You can just see how cracked this player is. But speaking of cracked, we got an Octane inside of the lobby. I didn't realize that when we were on LG's screen. A little bit of Amiya on Amiya action happening over here as Niesel is looking for the final player, and it looks like they do have him located on over towards the door. It's going to be Caustic, a little stinky guy hiding around the corner, and that's all she wrote, taking care of that final Caustic barrel. Meanwhile, DZ, they're able to bounce back after getting shot at over towards the staging side. They do get the kill onto Boney Tony with the flush as well, so tack up some points here. Back-to-back land champions over here as they continue to put in some serious practice. Big nades coming in from the back. Jen Burton, he's got the moves like Jagger, though. He is out of there.
Why are they in so much pain? Dark Zero running from fight to fight, somehow alive, but that may stop now. First knock comes in at the hands of Phony, and Abralele gets yet another one elsewhere in the kill feed. We are still lighting things up, and Esports Arena will not be giving up their kill today. They've already cleared their backs. They know they've got plenty of space, and they are still playing things safe over here by landslide, making sure to lay in damage from afar, claim height, but not overextend into this chaos.
Yeah, Phony griefing people with the charge rifle flatline. It's a great scope to have on the charge rifle as well. 2-4, 3-4-8, really put in work. But he is able to locate one of the members of DZ, take them down, and DZ was just, like you said, pain all over the place. It was like a Naruto episode. It was horrible for them over towards the staging side. They rotate over towards landslide, and teams all over the place when the zone's going over towards the southern side. Keep in mind, though, if you're making your way over towards thermal station, this is where things get heated. Right over here from landslide, moving on over towards where the geyser is, not the actual part. It's like the hot springs area, kind of in between where Los Corridos is. That little area there and staging see a lot of action. The Dorito building, the no-name buildings over towards that northern side, over towards the west side. This is the third Mad Maggie that we've seen, though, and it's going to be Waku busting this one out. Esteves is going to get knocked as well. He gets flush. Hyarka is on the move. He's getting fairly weak, and this is a tough spot. I mean, there's at least 4 or 5 teams in this area, Dia.
Los Corridos seem to be, trying to find an angle where they can escape, where they pop out of vision of a few teams, but no hands. They come right in, find another knock onto Hyarka. It's just Uchako left, and now whittled down to just one player. We've already seen this story happen with SSG. Placement points are really all you're hoping for here, and avoiding a lot of the attention from other squads, which is going to be really difficult because the zone T-squared is going to continue pulling us to the south, where there is less and less places to hide.
I would love to get a drop cam too to see what he was able to do for SSG, whether he's ratting it out, was he eliminated, was he able to get his teammates back, no hands. They're taking the skyward dive over towards that thermal station side, but there's going to be a lot of teams over here. A lot of times you try to play over towards these bins, there's already a team locked in over there. That's going to be the god spot for majority of these players. Somehow RJ was able to live, but here comes the damage coming in from the backhand side. It's Team Intel locking this down fairly early. Crazy Ninja with the Spitfire, I believe that is, onto Sharky as well. Defensive bombardment's going to land. We talked about Gibby beforehand, and there is the big bubble coming in from Icy, buying some time to take some angles, get out of that area where there isn't any cover, and provide cover for his teammates as they push down.
I'm really happy to see that Gibraltar picked up the Loba as well. Team Intel doing some experimentation on what works best for them and pushing out of the meta that's dominated for so long, the Seer, Horizon, Valkyrie, and saying, you know what, when we were a team that was up and coming, this is what worked for us. We're going to go right back to it and see what we can make happen. Esports Arena certainly making something happen here. Have Greek knocked, but still managed to eliminate Aegon by AOC before taking this quick reset. Phony making sure that no one's coming up on him, and Greek's right back into the game with Esports Arena on top.
There's no way anyone has more damage than Phony in this lobby right now. Almost 1,600 damage. That charge rifle flatline combo is so good, especially when you have the heat sink skin on there too. You can see it's almost better to not even have a scope because of the tracking is so good on the phony side. But here goes another fight. So much action here in game number 1. Nobody letting up over here as Albarelli pushes in with the Prowler flatline combo. You're gonna need a lot of heavy ammo for this one. It's playing Wraith, so here comes the Q in the backhand side, and a good trade coming in from both players. Albarelli gonna elect to go for that shield battery. Nano covering with the barrels all over the place, but a little bit of a miss with the PK is gonna cost him 45 and 9. That's not the damage that you're looking for, and Albarelli shooting the barrels to try to get some cover, but CLG goes down because, again, there are a handful of teams. Leave no witnesses. They're eliminated, and Crazy Ninja is coming through and picking up some kills. This is a player that we were looking out for a couple of weeks ago, and he is back here in Series E on our pro night, having his best game so far.
Helping MDS secure this northernmost side of the ring that remains. Los Carritos, unfortunately, no longer with us, but MDS have a fight that may very well take them face-to-face with another squad. Around the outside here, they've got a Valkyrie. They have the opportunity to play for the Dorito building, but Esports Arena want it as well.
Yeah, they're going to continue to push up. And this has been a team that's been on the move. They've created so much havoc in this game already. But they're going to have to back off because you can see the Seer Q just came out. The enemy team knows that they're coming in over towards the Dorito building, and the Dorito building isn't in. So there's a little bit of sliver that they can play on the outside, and that's potentially their win condition here. Is Greek does have his skyward dive in 40 seconds if they need to go and use that one. Gothi is going to go down, and this is Crazy Ninja's team on the opposite side. There may be another team in the area too, as you can see, taking over that right angle. Phony's aware of all of the players in the area. He's using that heat seeker through the wall to find out exactly where everyone's going to be. It's like he's fighting 2 teams at once.
Hey, what Phony's doing right now is absolutely wild because he isn't one-clipping people. He's throwing in bits of damage here and there, and it's adding up really quickly. Phony's relentless pressure has just net Esports Arena another 2 kills, and if this charge rifle lands another couple hits, maybe just another 3 with already 6 KP on Phony alone and 7 teams left. Placements and kills are adding up in a big way to put Esports Arena at near, if not at the very top of the lobby right now.
Another crack shield, and nice guy Phony was able to give his red armors over towards his teammate because he knows how much damage he's outputting right now. That purple is going to go to red very shortly. He's 70 away. Niesel's got the Kraber. He's going to take down the baby. This is a problem, though. They got a little bit hyper-aggressive, and now the rotation has to come in. They have a little bit of sliver over towards the backhand side. Niesel not able to locate the Kraber shot, but 7 squads, a couple of rats involved, and Team ESA trying to find some safe haven on the opposite side of the mountain. Again, there was a very small amount that was playable over there, and eventually they will skyward dive, and it looks like that's going to be the play. LG knows exactly where this zone was going to pull. They're locking down all of the buildings. Typically, you don't see a team dominate this hard in the area. 140 onto the player in front of him. DZ goes down. Niesel with the aggression. It looks like he's just going to go for the no-scope, and he gets it.
He just rolls up on him. That's the confidence that you like to see from our winners of last week. Just a few bullets left in this Kraber, but Niesel's already been able to make magic happen, pulling up to 6 KP themselves and looking for another shot indeed. Has a little bit of a jump pad here to get some alternate angles, but Luminosity Gaming still need to coordinate their full push onto this high ground. Now they've got to do it down a member as Jaguares falls on the low ground to yet another Kraber. It's Intel getting involved.
I don't think they were expecting another Kraber here. A little bit hyper-aggressive for Jaguares, but they still did pick up some good kills along the way, and they do have the God spot, so let's see if they're going to be able to lock that down. Keep in mind, you still have ESA on the opposite side of that mountain, so in 25 seconds, it's a matter of where they're going to land. Are they going to realize that it's just a duo over towards those buildings? And you think with 3 buildings over there that they're going to try to find one of those spots instead of going on over towards where this mountain area is, and they're going to find a lot of players on that passive from Valkyrie. So there goes the respawn coming through. While that's happening, ESA is going to be skyward diving, and this could not be good for Jaguares because you know that as soon as the skyward dive happens, they're not going to be able to get over towards that loot. So they're going to have to play lootless for a while, maybe toss the Kraber on over towards ya boy on Bloodhound and make an opportunity. But I feel like Niesel's ready to grief anybody else that comes in his sights.
Oh no, just as Oh my god, Bloodhound Jew, I'm gonna have to hold my point because No Hands just got eviscerated, as did Esports Arena, disappearing into nothing. It's 3 squads left, and Dropped is still in here. SSG have a member in the final 3. It's really Luminosity Gaming versus Intel, but we have to appreciate what Dropped has been able to do.
How has Dropped lived throughout all this? I mean, he still has a chance to win this one. He doesn't have his ultimate. Now he's spotted out. There goes the smokes. And that's going to be all she wrote here very shortly. But he's trying to grief as long as possible. Is able to locate a safe area behind the rock. And it doesn't look like Intel's playing Seer. So they're not able to locate him until I cast or cursed him. 3 on 3, straight up 3 on 3 right now. Jaguars was able to get his loot as well, and this is the final fight for the game. Intel's done a great job of playing the opposite side of the God spot, and LG is just going nutty in terms of Niesel with the Kraber. Flids are now flying on over towards the top of the building, and Niesel just doesn't miss.
Doesn't quite land that jump, and now Luminosity Gaming in full control of this engagement get to run it down onto the 3rd and final member of Intel to pick up the win. Luminosity did not just win this game, they won it in style. T-squared from the south to the north end of the ring. They were unstoppable.
Okay, LG is here to play, and we see how this lobby is going to go. That was fast pace, all right? You don't typically see lobbies in Series E Pro Night run at that type of pace, but when you have compositions like this, when you have Maggies involved, you see Octanes mixed in with Bloodhounds, you have a mix of EU and NA, people are here to duke it out. They're here to team fight. But man, props to Niesel, hats off. You know, beanies off. And beanies off for Niesel, because what a performance with the Kraber. I mean, he was taking down numerous players, the crack shot in between, people flying in the air. It doesn't really matter. I'm tipping my cap, tipping my beanie on over to Niesel. He was the MVP of that game.
Yeah, that was incredible stuff, and really holding things down on Octane, a legend that we don't see that often, but really contributing and filing in line, I would say, even with the aggressive style of this lobby. LG have clearly worked out something that is doing quite good work for them in the first game of Pro Night. Will this continue? Who's to say? For more on that, we're going to hear from Yeso before the Beanie Boys are back.
I cannot. There we go. Hey, if last week is any indicator, LG will keep this rolling. They were really, really good last Wednesday and looking much the same here today, at least in game number 1. And a really masterful job, honestly. They do get the God spot, of course. They're up north of Thermal Station, but they just played around it so well. And even going down, remember, with Jaguars getting taken out, they did such a good job, especially you're talking about Niesel up on top of the building, Kraber in hand. Such a good job of keeping these teams at bay. They're at that numbers disadvantage, but nobody was able to get that push because Niesel just wasn't missing on those shots with the Kraber, and it just gave that little bit of breathing room for LG to get that reset, get Jaguars back up, looted up off of their body, and they're completely ready to go for the final fight. So I think really well played there from LG, where they find that moment where, hey, Jaguars has gone down. We got to slow down, keep these teams at bay. We can get this res right now, and they played it perfectly. So really well done from them there. But also Intel with a solid showing here. They're another team similar to Aegon by AOC that I was talking about at the top of the show that has had some of those highlight moments but haven't really been able to put together a full night. This is the way you want to start. Of course, disappointing that they don't get the win, but a second place finish there up against LG is something to hang your hat on for sure. And if Intel can keep that rolling here through a majority of the rest of tonight, they could certainly have a good placing, and I hope they can do so. But hats off there to Luminosity. Let's take a look, though, at our Mobile One high performance moment here for game number 1 of the day. And I imagine it's going to be here close to the finish. No, much earlier in the game, and we get a look here at Team Esports Arena. Phony leading the way with this flat line and just really not missing shots here. Gets the 126 on that one. Immediately comes sliding around the rock and has 2 players just right in his crosshair and very quickly wipes out Team Aegon by AOC. And this is really just, as I said, Phony not really missing with the flat line. The one player comes out for the peak to give a little bit of an opportunity for a reset. turns is already down, and then Phony stepping around the corner, getting the beam on 2 players, gets that red Evo shield, and certainly bodes well for Team Esports Arena going into the rest of today because they had a solid start here as well. So keep an eye on those 3 squads we just talked about. No leaderboard right now. Bit of a bug on the back end here, so we're going to get that sorted out. As soon as it is fixed, of course, we'll have it for you folks at home, but just keep an eye out. We'll keep you posted on those results. Right now, we're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, T-Squared and Dia jump into game number 2.
Welcome back to Series E, folks, with Luminosity Gaming 1 game in the lead. They've got the dub, but I think as Yeso rightly pointed out, Intel coming up second is a really big thing to take note of. I was a really big fan, T-Squared, of how in that game that was so wild, that was so unpredictable, they controlled a lot of factors like loot with the Loba, like safe space with the Gibraltar, that other teams simply didn't have going for them.
Yeah, and it was a great location for their team to be with that specific composition because it's very tough to get through that choke where all the action's coming in from that staging side. So their position in conjunction with what you mentioned, which is their loadouts based on the Loba, based on their win conditions with the Gibby, were great, but they were able to kind of micromanage what was going on, and there's so many different areas that they have to watch. It's really impressive to see how they were able to do that, but I think the most impressive thing was, again, Nizel and his capability to just slay on this Octane throughout the entirety of the game. I mean, every time we're on his point of view, whether it's the Kraber, whether it's the Wingman, that final fight against Intel wasn't very close, and that was a straight-up 3-on-3.
No, this is where I think you're seeing the gap in between a team that is in Pro League, that is going to be competing at the highest level of Apex Legends, and Intel, who are very much a part of the pipeline that we pride ourselves on here at Series E. Being one of our partnered squads, it is their privilege, as is everyone's, to go up against pro teams and to get experience that way. It's also, I think, a very different approach to the game that we're seeing contextualized by their different positions in the Apex Legends scene as a whole. You've got Luminosity Gaming, whose focus is fragging out as much as possible against the best players in the world, and you've got Intel, who are playing their way up through Series E, through Challenger Circuit, where the goal really is to mitigate as much RNG as possible.
It makes you wonder why that fight didn't really go their way and what could have they done better. I mean, there wasn't really anything in terms of playing around the bubbles. I'm not quite sure where the defensive bombardment went. I think it went on top of the buildings, but that's a great opportunity, again, like you said, to look at what could be improved on and say, all right, what was the big difference maker in this fight? Was it someone just got caught off guard? Because it could be something as simple as one person overextends. And then once you take a lot of damage, there's really nothing you can do, especially at a team of that caliber at this high a level of play when we're talking about the amount of teams that are very good in here, a lot of talented players. But I think what we saw here is a mix of some really, really strong teams kind of picking on some teams that weren't ready for the amount of aggression that was coming through. And I'm not expecting that to slow down. I mean, if game one's like that, I think the pace is going to continue to go forward. It also could have been based on the zone that we saw. And sometimes there's a domino effect that happens in the game. But look at the rotation that LG had to take. I mean, they're coming all the way from the bottom of the map all the way on over towards the north side, and they were able to get into a priority position just by fighting their way out, and that's a great start. The Volt R301 there for Nizel, R301, the most versatile weapon that you could find, and you have a great backup in the Volt. So I'm expecting, again, big things. Finds the purple mag too, so this is great. The rich continue to get rich over here as they're trying to find out exactly what loadouts they're going to get.
You've got to applaud the way that LG do take this, what I'll call a very nice drop spot, something that a lot of people will have fought over and will continue to fight over in professional Apex Legends over here on the launch site, and turn it into a very proactive position. This is a very flexible POI. It allows you to play the edge of the map if you'd like to. It allows you to have really easy rotations straight through the center by Lava Siphon, and it's got pretty easy moves into both Tree and Dome next door. But the real thing that impressed me about the way that Luminosity played last game was how fast they were making things happen. As soon as we saw that, what I'll call 50-50 between Razor and SSG, Luminosity were already rocking up on it, and you do not get that way by sitting and looting for 10 minutes. You get there by picking up what you need and running to the rest of the game.
Taking a look at Climatizer, Mike and Ike picking up some early kill points, and this is going to be a very big moment for them if they can clear out the last two players fairly quickly, because you can see the zone isn't too far from them. It's going to be an early Maggie Ball coming through. Again, the game just started and these players already got their ultimates coming through. A very fast cooldown on that one. MJ takes on over towards the skies as he continues to heal up, but early pick should result in some more kill points for them. It's just a matter of when do they want to get aggressive. They don't want to overextend just in case there is going to be another team. I mean, sometimes we're seeing Climatizer is one of the most populated areas early in the game. Big PK shots, it gets answered right back from Iwaku, And I believe there is another team here. So there's possibly 3 teams over towards Climatizer. I remember when this was Refinery, no one would go back here.
Yeah, now it's one of the hottest places to be, and Mike and Ike are certainly making it all the hotter, having picked up the singular kill. Full thirst now onto Chaco as Team Mike and Ike, paying, I think, really nice due respect in this fight. Have managed to buy a lot of space and time. Even Skynades right now recognizing that despite the fact they've got a kill, they are going up against a very, very mechanically talented squad, one that has been at the top of the EMEA before. Mike and Ike get their opportunity to claim the rest of the POI, knowing that they've now got the numbers advantage, but that's all going to be on the back of Wizard Coin and how much safety they can provide with the scans.
Great armor is coming for Odi Betes. I'm not even quite sure how to say that name. I'm going to give up on that one.
I'm going Octabytes.
Octabytes? Okay. Well, we're going to have to talk to these guys afterwards and tell them, hey, can you make it a little bit easier? Could you just be like Team EMEA or something like that? Something that we would know how to pronounce. But either way, great talented players here. Excited to see what they're going to be able to do. Got the amped up Sentinel in the hands of Hawkes, and he looks like he is on the prowl for somebody, but they have all run away from him. And that's the smart move. You do not want to take this guy on head-to-head. The confidence is just oozing out of his movement. You can see Dia, he is not scared of anybody. He's even going to portal in directly towards this fight.
That is the solo queue Wraith move when you already know that it's over. Los Carritos, it is certainly over for them. They've just been taken out in their entirety. Hawkes continues to run forward, unafraid as he sees death lighting up the kill feed. The Octobytes, I will say, serendipitously, also have this rotation taking them towards the ring. It isn't a chase for kills and nothing else. This is running them all the way along the eastern side of the zone that's next to close in, and ultimately into a really nice edged position that should get them high ground if they end over by Climatizer.
The rematch, it's back. This time it's happening over towards the Harvester side, and it's designed for Frex. Dropped the SSG squad going up against Razor, who took him out over towards the Thermal Station side. And interestingly enough, it was Dropped who got the most points out of everybody throughout that entire engage. Designed already fighting one with the Prowler. He's in a horrible spot. That is a very vulnerable area on top of that ramp leading over towards the 2 closed doors, but it's going to be another team coming in from the backhand side as well. As Washi's going to go and get the knock. That's going to be Blitz's going down as well, and the quick scope from Frex, and he says, see you later with the peace sign. Meanwhile, you also have some kills going in for DZ from Nasky. The hunt coming through with the portal was working out for Hawkes. They were able to finally locate where that team is going to be, and that's directly below them. This is some great high ground coming through. There's the even 8 happening for OJ Rain, and he's going to continue to rain down fire onto BWC. See you later. Back to the lobby coming in with the swiftness there. He's got the gold EVA 8. That thing is going to pump.
I am loving what we just saw out of Oirain as well. This was another pickup in EMEA that as soon as Oirain entered the pro scene, everybody went, well, what are those mechanics? And now it's backed up by an immense amount of confidence. The split on Fire Beavers has already been so good for this player. And now, I mean, cleaning up over by Overlook, in contention for maybe a bit of prizing at the end of the day if they can keep that going. This is a great way to continue their preparation for an international performance. Build up that confidence as much as possible. Take the risks now.
On board with our winners from game number 1. Let's see if they can pick up some early kill points over here. Next team is going to end up getting the goose in terms of the placements. That's never a good thing for your squad, but we still have 5 more games, including this one, to go. Niesel, he's going to use that sim to get away from the Arc Star and relocate as he needs to heal. 2 cells going to be popped. They're inside of a Seer ultimate, so may have to wait this one out. And that's kind of the grief with Seer, right? Because you are trying to take the fight, but against a good team, they're not going to charge you inside of the Seer ultimate, which means that that's going to buy more time for eventual third parties to happen, as Sharky is going to find the kill with the Prowler onto Gothy. MDS going out in 16th place, but this is Aegon by AOC pushing out LG and saying, you know what, this is our spot. You guys are going to have to rotate to the choke.
And I'm going to call that a win for the partnered squads because though it isn't a squad wipe onto LG, that's the team that was running the lobby just not even 10 minutes ago, maybe 7 minutes ago, and Aegon have just managed to keep them out, keep them at bay in Zone 1, and now get to move on forward, separated by this big hunk of rock, with hopefully a lot more safety. The problem for Aegon is going to come in the rotation up to the north, because unfortunately for them, they don't get to keep moving towards the west. Instead, having to make their way up towards Fragment, towards Survey Camp, and if they wait too long, perhaps towards LG again.
There's SSG, fresh off their 3rd place thanks to this guy on the Bangalore. So interesting to see, again, that they fought Team Razor right off the rip. It seems like those two teams are going to be shoulder to shoulder going into Game 3 as well, based on the rotations and kind of the play style that they make. They're going to locate a player directly in front of them, going for the Skyward Dive. That's a full team. Dropped is able to put some damage down, but not enough to get the knock, as Bursty's going to be eliminated by Greek from Team ESA. And I'm curious what Fony's going to be able to do this game, because when we were hopping on board with Niesel and Fony, those were the two players that were really impressing me. I mean, Drop did a great job staying alive. We just didn't get a chance to see what his slaying capabilities were going to be, because he lost 2 of his teammates fairly early. But speaking of going in and popping off the kill feed, it's going to be OJ Raid popping off. He gets 2 kills. Nasky finds the other, and that's going to be the kill lead going on over to him. The EVA 8 R301 combo continuing to prove very useful for that squad.
And the momentum continues to build towards the northeast of the map. We have got a monster being created over there, and Octobytes may very well be building up that momentum that we talked about at the very start of the day, what is so important here in Series E. SSG tried to keep that going after converting on the fight from Harvester. They've made their way up, but didn't quite find the kill in the choke. A choke that seems to be claiming perhaps some lives in the North. Esports Arena forced to back off, having already lost Fony, are down to just 2 and not even at full health. Fony gets right back into the game off of a res from Greek, but with the zone closing in around them, with Esports Arena backed up against a wall, can they fight their way out of this? They've got a nice defense down. Bangalore ult going to come in around them. Shouldn't affect them too much in this corner, and Fony calls his teammates to safety. Now the zone providing a little bit of artificial cover here. Not a whole lot of people wanting to move up and tank any of that. Esports Arena, with some defensive play, seem to have kept themselves in the conversation around these teams in the north end of the map, but they've still got a fight to make.
Turns actually finds one onto Yanya as well, so Aegon by AOC was able to locate LG again, and then they get the flush, so changing the course of how this lobby is going to play out. This is an interesting spot for ESA, that literally backs against the wall, backs against the zone here, as you said, Dia, and some moves are going to have to be made. It looks like they're going to find a little safe haven on the opposite side of the train tracks over here. The team inside of the train tunnel, though, is the real problem. Fortunately, they are able to locate a spot to go and travel to and get their safety at the right time. I mean, that was so big that the other team in the train tunnel looked away, and as that happened, they realized, okay, it's time to move in. Look at this movement. I mean, talk about controller being OP. Just look at this guy on the mouse and keyboard. The amount of hours he has in Apex, it's ridiculous watching him move around the map. It's a whole nother level.
Yeah, on full display right now, and the Octobytes continuing to use those mechanics to their fullest, not just in the movement around the map, but into the faces of other squads. With Hackies having spotted a team just off to their south, they've got an opportunity to gatekeep here. If they don't just wipe him off the map first, it looks more like an eraser that he's holding in his hand than an R301. And now we get the portal forward. We've seen that confidence before. The Octobytes are here to take absolutely no prisoners.
Yeah, and he's going to go and use that slide in front of him to make a little bit more of a move, and there goes the Mad Maggie ball. It's going to connect on the 2 players. The stun is happening. The portal's there, and they can just kind of hang around the portal, and that's key as the W comes out. The damage is landing back and forth. He's got the Digi threat if he wants to see through all that visual clutter. Big shot coming in with the PK, but that's all she wrote. The res happening here very shortly, and the armor swap is there as well as we go on board with ESA. What a team fight there. What a Maggie wrecking ball, putting in some serious work, and that is a fun team to watch.
Got to respect the PK pump from Chase as well, though it didn't do No Hands much good in the end. It does feel pretty nice to pick up a knock in what looks like a hopeless situation. We really got to see the power of that Maggie Caustic combination there as well, denying area and really denying Watson as the focus around squads like this, where Watson has become increasingly more popular. It is Caustic Maggie that have been so good at displacing any team that's trying to run this hyper-defensive move. Esports Arena on a little bit of an offensive train right now. It does seem like they're trying to get by relatively unscathed, but have run into yet another squad. Aren't really too concerned, though. They are low, but they put themselves here, and you have to imagine that Esports Arena have a plan.
The plan is to just stay alive as long as possible, and you're saying they don't look concerned? I think they look concerned. I'm concerned for them. I don't know if they're worried. I'm worried for them, but we're going to have to talk about that little macro play that Phony made. They needed to walk by the building, and in order to do that, what he did was toss down the Seer ultimate to say, hey, you know what? We want to see exactly where these guys are located, but mostly they didn't want the enemy team to peek. Why would you peek out of a Seer ultimate? Because you feel like that team's going to infiltrate your building. They don't know that's just a duo on the opposite side. And then once he got inside of the blue trailer, he started to play big, and he's continuing to hit scans. He's continuing to show that they are a team to be, to be messed with inside of this area. You do not want to go against a team that is adding pressure like that. But if you thought it was just a duo, you want to push that. And they're doing a great job. Phony especially is adding so much value to his team just by playing aggressive.
Octobytes, with a little bit of value of their own, have just picked up an additional 2 kills as they eliminate our winners from game number 1. Luminosity gone, and the Octobytes, already having been making a strong argument for themselves in game 2, make that even more formidable. Hockey's holding down a full angle by themselves. You've got an angle on this next ring as well. They're not in the sight lines just yet. Octobytes have to move ever so slightly further north to take control of these train tracks and perhaps the game. Hockey is continuing to be the player that pushes Octobytes forward, that claims space for them, and that has the safety on this Wraith to know that you can make a little bit of a mistake. You can overposition. You can push into Tyson, and as long as you get into a corner for a second, you're going to be all right.
And when you watch this team play, it has very similar vibes to, ooh, big burst coming in, 69 from Cruisin'. That's going to back a player down. But look at the rotation that LG had to make in game number 1. A very similar rotation for Hockey's and his team, where they were all over the map, right? They were owning real estate outside of Fragment. Now they've made their way all the way over towards the zone. And it's been a great aggression coming out from them. They've taken numerous team fights. None of them have been close. And now they've put themselves in a god spot on top of that train track over towards the trailer, where a lot of times this zone is going to pull. So we'll see exactly what happens here very shortly as round 4 closes. I mean, we're down to 11 squads. Again, a very fast-paced game so far. A little bit slower than game number 1, but this is where all of the money is made here in Apex. Round number 4 closing, and we can definitely expect a couple of squads to drop.
Team Tyson should be able to hang on to this position, but it is going to be a difficult one as everybody will be looking at this squad. I got my eyes on Kodigami especially, as I've been highlighting this player during their time on Black Hand over the past couple challenger circuits, and Kodigami has done a really good job of keeping Black Hand in contention to the tune of them winning the final challenger circuit of split number 1 in the 2022-2023 season. Tyson, totally different squad, totally different style, but seem to be gelling just as well with the power that is Kotigami, as Tyson do not look to be in any danger of losing this bridge. The focus that we talked about them needing to have really being drawn away elsewhere on the map, and Cody maybe looking a little bit aggressively right now.
He needs to be careful because he's been located and spotted, so they're going to back off from this one. This is the team that you have to deal with, though, Dia. They're sitting underneath the bridge. You can't rotate directly with them, and the zone is towards their back, so eventually they're going to have to take this fight. Problem is with peeking right there, they know that that's the spot you're going to be coming from, as the infiltration inside the building is happening for SSG. Shots happening all over the place, but you still have ESA, I believe, inside of that trailer shooting you in the back, and that's why the smokes have gone down for dropped, and they're just going to back off from this fight.
It's a good time for SSG as well. I was equally worried about that Esports Arena angle. We haven't checked in with them in a while. And looking at the truck, they may have relocated. It's just Phony alive. Thank you, observers, who demonstrate to us that with no meds, no hope, but one seer, Esports Arena are still technically in this game. With 9 squads left and not a whole lot of ways to make a play. We'll see how much further they can make it. Well, Octobytes start pushing up where Tyson were moments ago. Where are Tyson?
They've swapped. I think they were going and trying to push over towards the bridge area, and instead the aggression coming in. And look at the big 99 pump that took place throughout all of that. And Hockey's isn't messing around. He's going to wall bounce. He's going to start pushing in, and they know that they have the knock already. There's been a knock on the opposite side. They're fighting 2 completely different teams. That's the amount of aggression that this team is putting down right now. The Q coming back. The res is going to be able to happen for Tyson. But instead of letting these teams walk towards them, they push directly in their face. Very ballsy move happening, and that's going to buy some time for Tyson based on the fact that they were fairly split on the Octobyte side. But great shots coming in from Cruising in that Prowler on Horizon, going up the lift. One of the strongest guns, especially after the changes that were happening, and especially on the hands of a legend like Horizon. 150, 160 to the player in front of him. Possible armor swap happening, but a great thermite. And that's going to be Bird, Phony Tony, and Panda now picking up all of the leftovers happening over towards that train track area. Very tough to get out of that position for Tyson, but look at this positioning now, Dia. They have a perfect spot over here if Sleepy Panda can stay alive. He's got the gold armor, just needs to hit a cell throughout all of this. It's a time to slow play this one. There's a rat still. It's most likely going to be Phony from Team ESA, as Nasky is going to get knocked and most likely eliminated here. Unfortunately for his teammates, that is the player with the gold knockdown shield, not the player that you were looking to lose, but the ability to get on over towards the high ground, play all of the mountainside, plus take the high ground over towards this rock. This is a great position to be in.
Nasky gone now, and so many squads operating at a deficit. Even SSG with a very nice shot onto GS Bird. Still do have to play careful. They've got Designful without the banner right now down, and unfortunately not a whole lot of ways to recover him as sat outside the ring. SSG won't be able to pick up their teammate. Octobytes, for all the momentum they got earlier, are going to be eliminated, and that Sentinel headshot almost takes out yet another member. But SSG hold on in this corner. Smoke's really providing a lot of cover for them, keeping them in the top 3, and even as a 2-man, the only 2-man left, they've still got work to do. They're juggling the aggression of 2 separate full squads, and when I do say aggression, I suppose I can't be talking about LNW right now. They've been playing this as a very passive game.
And they're playing it the right way. I mean, this is the final zone. This is where things get a little bit sticky. If you're inexperienced, you definitely want to let the other teams fight, so why not just back off, especially if you have a good positioning and the amount of aggression SSG is showing. They're the furthest away from the fight, so they could just come in and play cleanup. Great missile swarm happening, but it's not going to do enough damage for them to get any knocks. Frex with this gold armor is seeing extreme value here, but they're going to have to be the first team to move. You can see trying to play this rock as long as possible. It's going to have to be some amazing sentinel shots. There's not enough time to even charge this thing up as he's trying to get it going. He is going to charge it up because he knows that's a possible win condition. Seer ultimate going down, and that is all she wrote. Phony Tone on top of that with the flat line, and you can see LMG in the backhand side is ready to go and push as soon as the opportunity is there, and it is going to be there. You can see that now that this is happening over towards the side. They've already got a knock, they've already got a flush, and it looks like, unfortunately for them, they were focused on the opposite side. Leave no witnesses, excuse me, I called them LMG. It's LNW, leave no witnesses, coming through and not leaving anybody on the map. Easy win for them based on the final circle. You can see again the strategy. Never be the first 2 teams to fight. You want to be the third party in that instance, especially when you have Crypto and Loba gathering all of the loot, gathering all of the information.
I mean, we talked about this in that final zone, and you made the call yourself, T-Squared, that In the case of LNW on the low ground, they may not have been particularly aggressive, but especially in that end zone, it was the way to play, with two squads that absolutely had to take each other out. LNW got to play the slow game. They got to play with the cover that they were afforded by this little ridge jutting out over the low ground, and ultimately, the combination of the cover that LNW had, their patience, and the impatience of the other two squads, SSG forced right into Esoteric, and Esoteric, with a bit of a split call as well, Sleepy Panda jumping down to finish off a kill, had him one-clipped by Dropped faster than he could think, and suddenly, it's a 2 versus 3 in the end game.
You're gonna have to take this one away. There's a bunch of ambulances going by over here, so I don't want to scare anybody over at home.
All right, well, we figure out what's going on with T-Squared. Well, hopefully everyone's all right. We're going to hear from Yeso as to how Game 2 broke down and what we can take away from LNW.
I think we could take away that LNW just played that nice and patient and waited for the right opportunity, as you were just breaking down, Dia. As you mentioned, not in the greatest of spots in that late game, but ultimately with the way things worked out with SSG pushing up and Esoteric taking the shots to try to pick up that KP, it just opened the door for Leave No Witness to come in and clean things up in that fight. That's how they grabbed the win here in game number 2. Also, have to give credit where credit is due. SSG getting into that top 3 and a 3rd place finish 2 games in a row here. And this time, Dropped wasn't alone, at least the entire time. was alone for about 10 seconds there at the end, but they tried to get it going. Unfortunately, SSG goes down, but they were clearly in the worst position, in the toughest spot to make something happen there, and Esoteric is able to take them out and Leave No Witness cleans up for the win. That does bring us, though, to our Mobile One high performance moment here for game number 2. Let's check it out as we take a look back on this second game, and it's another earlier clip, and it's a clip of the EMEA squad here. We got Nasky, we got Oirin, we got Hockeys jumping in here and just dominating in and around this rock. And things get a little chaotic, right? One player going down a little earlier than you would hope because they get this ultimate in from the Mad Maggie that just creates chaos right off the bat. And they're able to get a lot of good damage early. They get the drill coming through. You can see all of the ticks here. And while one player does go down, thankfully, Nasky Hockey's able to clutch up and keep them alive. So well played from the squad, and happy we continue to get to see our EMEA friends here coming into Series E. Of course, I'm a big fan of seeing those EMEA players mixing things up, and of course, with LAN coming up very soon, I know there's going to be that cross-regional competition, and that EMEA and NA rivalry will continue. So getting to see a little bit of it here in Series E, I'm always a big fan of. Still sorting out a couple of little kinks with the leaderboard, so we will have that for you hopefully very soon, but not quite yet. We will check that out, though, when it is available. Right now, we're going to head to a quick break. When we come back, it's our final game of the first half as we'll close things out on World's Edge.
are bringing you the action, and action is truly the right word, T-squared. As we approach international and national competitions of supreme scale, we are getting some balls to the wall gameplay, and everybody seems to be on the same page, except LNW, who came out of nowhere last game and just took the win.
They came out of the sneaky building inside of the God spot, basically, and you know what happened in that type of situation? The amount of aggression that SSG had bought them time, because you looked at where the team was on top of the mountain and you go, wait, these guys got this on lock. But sentinel shot after sentinel shot hitting for Frex had to be scary. They had to deal with them throughout all of that, and they picked up some big points there, moving themselves into third with 23 points overall. Excited to see where this final zone on our final game on World's Edge is going to be. We also have some 50-50s that are taking place, and that's what Mike and Ike is up to right now. That's never a good sign, Dia. Not having a gun while you're getting shot at, I don't think that's what you're looking for.
No, especially not if you're MJ. I mean, Mike and Ike, they are a talented squad through and through, but as with almost all teams that land at Climatizer and that run a Horizon consistently, and yes, there are a surprising amount of them, you want to have that Horizon as your star player, as your gem that has the Devo, the 301, whatever they need to make it work. And MJ, despite having nothing, has still managed to survive. The rest of Mike and I crowding in around them, making sure you've got a little bit of time to loot, and now MJ's got something. It may not be much, it may be a humble triple take, but it'll have to put in the work for now.
Look at the confidence coming in from MJ. I mean, he's just trying to take this team down with one weapon overall. Silent has one weapon. They have so much loot on the roof. It would be almost impossible to win this fight, but they're still trying to take this as fast as possible. There's a purple armor coming in for Silent. They're looting towards the bottom now of the Climatizer area, and you have an R3, R9, the R400 combo for Wizard Coins. So out of everybody with weapons, he's definitely looking good. There goes the scan. It's not going to be able to connect, but they are able to find the knock with the triple take, and that's 2 knocks now with just 1 weapon coming in for Team Mike and Ike. That's impressive.
Ochako full thirsted now, and oh no, it's another. Yarka goes down, Esteves follows, and Los Carritos. They are our first game, or our first team rather, eliminated in game number 3, the last on World's Edge before we swap on over to Storm Point for the second half. That is a big deal, as they have gone, I believe it is 0 for 3 over by Climatizer.
That's a great start on World's Edge for Team Mike and Ike. It's also going to showcase what they're able to do in these team fights, locking down their area and talking about having some serious map control over towards the northern side. No one in Survey, no one in Epicenter. The next closest team is going to be over towards Overlook and potentially where that train tunnel was, where we saw a close ending beforehand. But there goes the Seer ultimates from both these teams. Aegon by AOC trying to put in some serious damage. We mentioned turns. He's back. He's playing on Horizon. Has one of the deepest legend pools out of anybody in Apex and in Series E. But they have to give up the high ground, and that's not what you're looking for. They're going to have to try to get back up there ASAP, and that's what Orioles with Passion has in mind. Instead, they're going to go to the level directly below the roof, and this is a weak spot to be in, but it is outside of the Seer ultimate. That would be a big scan if he's able to get it, and it looks like it was able to connect. Meanwhile, a lot of kills happening in the kill feed. Bonitone and Crazy Ninja, their team going back at it, back and forth, and there is the play. They wanted to get away from the Seer ultimate. They're just playing a little bit safe. Now they're all back, and a big burst from Orioles with the R301.
Still 75 left till Blue Shields, where you really want to be entering any mid-game, even early-game fights. Blue Shields are going to be that extra 25 that means so much. It's a really difficult angle to fight over here as well. Even Aegon, who seem to have the high ground right now, still are playing a game of inches and somehow have managed to turn that into a game on the stairwell. 4C drops down looking for a little bit more DPS but doesn't get it. Instead, his teammate turns, gets melted, and Aegon have lost one. This game of inches suddenly perhaps not going their way. That's the full thirst as Kodigami picks up the kill, and Tyson, notice they've got company. In come Luminosity Gaming, and a third squad involved in this is not what either of these teams want. Tyson disengage instantly, but Luminosity, they are here to stay.
and they're on the hunt. This is the last team I'd be wanting to go against. Look at Yanya and his ability to control the spray, especially in an instance where it's a very heated fight. Niesel's going to back off, and this is smart because you don't know how many teams exactly are in the area. So go back, reset, let them continue to duke it out, and then come up and play cleanup because it did not go as clean as they wanted to. Also, keep track of their health. They do not want to lose out on actual health, just the shields, because the shields easy to replenish. Once you go down to that taking health damage, you have so much time to go and try to hit a syringe, hit a med kit, so they're going to back off just based on that alone. You also have a couple of Altic cells being popped, but a lot of teams posturing over here. It makes you wonder, where exactly is this zone going to be?
You know, Luminosity Gaming arriving saved a lot of lives for a second. There was a big fight that was going down. Nobody seemed to have a straight-up advantage on it. We got a single kill, and Luminosity came in, and almost like the parents separated the two kids and said, stop fighting. We're all hanging out here in Lava City. Everything is fine. Aegon, able to disengage onto the low ground, now have the banner of turrets and may still be able to get out of dodge and bring their teammate right back into the game. MDS won't get that opportunity though, as they are eliminated by Esoteric, and action is lighting up the map that we're in Lava City.
Has to be moving towards this side of the map eventually, but turns, he's the guy you want to get back in. He's the leader of your team, so I like this play. Back off, try to reset, as now all the teams are starting to make their way over here, and this is another team that's been hyper aggressive. They haven't put up the kill points that they're looking for quite yet, but Alberelli is on the hunt. He's got the gold armor. He's back on the Wraith like it was season 1. Bubble is going to go down by the enemy team, but Mamba's not messing around. He's got the shotgun. He's got the Mad Maggie passive. Is able to get 2 huge hits with the PK, but the rest of his team not there to quite follow up. And as soon as you end up tossing that gas grenade, it's going to be a push from another team. This is Team Intel. We know that they're going to be the team playing on that Gibby. The res happening through the smoke, so that was a great ultimate, even though it ended up costing him his life.
So yeah, it's like an expensive bang smoke right now. Nano's able to get the shield swap. Aberelli going to pull off the double res, and despite the fact that it was very, very scary there, they managed to get away with it. Get away with literal murder, and now we've got Dark Zero on their rotation down to the south as well. It's a bit of a disengage for them, but scrappy fights, scrappy rotations seem to be the theme in Game 3, as those squads that do feel like they've really got World's Edge as their best map, that do want to take these really aggressive fights in close quarters combat, are making that happen here and now more than ever. Dark Zero sitting in 8th place right now, 14 points so far. Isn't where you would have expected our 2-time international champions to be, but they've had a rough season, and unfortunately Dark Zero have in a lot of ways gone back to the drawing board since their arrival in North America.
This is the team that I kind of wanted to highlight before in the last 2 games, because they've been silent with their 14 points, right? We've seen them a couple of times, we've seen their screen, but they've been a little bit unlucky, and they've been a little out of sorts in terms of their positioning. And Ash is inside of the lobby too, Dia. I didn't notice that, but that's got a very interesting pick here. Ash is a very underutilized legend and a little bit underrated in my opinion. Definitely specializes in these skirmish type battles, and it's been a very fight heavy lobby. As you can see, the shots coming in over towards the player on top of the geyser area, but this is the area they're gonna have to push through, right? They have to eventually get on over towards this choke, and that's a great job by our production team pulling up exactly where this zone is going to go. And look at CLG, they've picked a pretty solid spot inside.
And I mean, highlighting the disparity between where teams thought this was going to go and where it is. Looking at the way that, say, Luminosity Gaming rotated over, they took Lava City, were moving their way up towards Big Mod, but this pull away from the southeastern corner of the map and into the central lava siphon, geyser, no man's land, is going to catch a lot of teams off guard. Even CLG, who are dead center of the ring right now, don't really have a strong argument to make for being able to hold on to it. They've got relatively little loot. They've got very open area. No legends that add cover, as Caustic's barrels can now be destroyed. And CLG are going to have to fight their way through this lobby just like everyone else.
Enemy spotted.
I love the way that they've been playing this one, though. Hyper aggressive, keeping out DZ. And again, with this weird team composition, it just seems to work. They seem pretty comfortable in certain situations. And again, Alberlay with that huge res, especially when he has the gold armor, is big. But there's the fight happening inside a big mod. Don't turn your back on Yanya. There's a big ultimate as well that should hit all three players. Instead, it disappeared. They must have all shot it at the same time. The push comes in, and somehow, some way, from Yanya's screen, it looked perfect. I'm not quite sure what the rest of his team was doing, but they're all pros, so I'm sure they were doing the right thing. This is just great defense by the enemy team.
Oh, it is a flawless return on the swing. And unfortunately for Luminosity, it ends up a miss. I don't watch baseball, but I'm hoping that metaphor landed. CLG are approaching from the low ground as well, playing both sides of the fight, the long range and the short, by making use of this Wraith portal. Mama's getting a little bit antsy, seeing if they can pick up a few extra kills as Niesel shows up in the kill feed. Luminosity may be hurt, but they are not down and out just yet. Mama takes a bit too much damage, may think about backing off, pops that shield back, but the fight over Big Mod is just beginning as Esoteric, unfortunately, meet their untimely end. That's sick.
The burn, baby burn, is... there's actually a disco ball inside of that area too, I believe, unless that was Mirage Voyage. But, you know, Disco Inferno is definitely a burn, baby burn situation, and Mad Maggie as well. I want to see the Wrecking Ball, though. That's the wall I want to see. Is it lays down some serious damage, and we've seen it in the hands of a handful of different players so far. Again, Yanya with the spray. The dude just doesn't miss inside of these close quarter areas. They have to get Jaguars back in this game, though, and the problem is very similar to what happened with SSG and dropped. Where exactly do you go for the res? There is no safe spot with the zone closing in.
CLG controls so much ground, and one of the only respawn beacons left in the game is just off to their south, with a lot of teams going to be coming from Big Mod. Abralele, I think quite rightly, is going to try and control some of this geyser choke point, make sure that they don't get any additional squads trying to make their way in, because CLG are going to have their hands full as it is. Keep in mind their position should let them control this game, but unfortunately, with a lack of being able to really hold ground in any substantial way, it's going to come down to the execution, and we'll see whether CLG really are going to be able to work as a three-person team, given that they are substituting in Abralele. Esports Arena along the outside of this do still have Valkyrie Ultimate, something that has bitten them before, bitten them specifically in Game 1, as I remember their sudden disappearance from the lobby landing right next to Luminosity Gaming. They're going to try this one again, though. Still 30-40 seconds on the next ring close, and they've managed to survive yet another squad going down. No hands are out, and it's LNW, our winners from game number 2, that have taken them down.
Yeah, I like this play not to go directly inside of a building, instead play on over towards the Yellow Crane. Then that's going to allow Phony to hit some scans and figure out exactly where players are going to be located. But LG now finding themselves in a tough situation. They were able to get the res. Yanya now knocked, though, and this has been an ongoing fight. I mean, this fight's been lasting 5 minutes, it seems like, maybe even more with LNW. Whereas of the previous game, every time we're on board with someone, they're just so close to one-clipping the opponents, but they go back, bait and switch with one of their teammates, and now it looks like LG is going to be walking out of here in 12th place, and it is happening. LNW survives throughout all of that. That was the team that they were fighting the entire time. What a battle between the winners of game number 1 and game number 2 happening over towards the Big Mod area. But hey, Apex Legends specialty right there. You win a great team fight, you don't get a chance to full heal because the fight lasted too long, and now you're running for your life.
That is a rough thing to watch. The full thirst on Panic as well leaves them as just a two-person squad, while Nano comes back to see what they can clean up. It's round 3. You cannot survive in this for very long, and with Nano on your tail, perhaps an even shorter timeline would be appropriate. Gets 180. Surprisingly not the knock, but leave no witnesses. They're gone anyway. Abraleli picking up at least one of those kills. And unfortunately for them, I mean, I was a big fan of the way LNW were playing that. Their defense was, in a lot of ways, fundamentally perfect. Double swings on the rotation back, making great use of their health pools, but a lack of understanding on what the rest of the lobby was up to, on their weaknesses there. And suddenly they're gone. CLG perhaps in the same situation as Nano's taking a lot of damage, and Buff Pathfinder thinking about getting aggressive on this. They've still got that Gibraltar. Defensive bombardment is down to buy them a little bit more space, and Buff Pathfinder have to win this fight and many more to make their way into ring. Buff Pathfinder still going to try and rotate around, this time through Dark Zero, as they're taking a fight on the low ground, one of the positions where this ring would normally end, but surprising everyone, we are continuing to move over towards Lava Siphon. We got Genetically Gifted going low here. 7th place is a move up for Dark Zero, but they're looking for more coming out of World's Edge. They got bats to hit, and Horizon cooldown is really what they're waiting for to be able to access some of this high ground. Playing from the low, playing safe is extraordinarily difficult. A little bit of the bridge is in off towards their south, and Dark Zero could be going for it over here with Tyson fighting for the high ground. They've taken out one member of CLG, but traded one back as well. Stanky is down, and the ring's gonna close in. That's one left for dead. Kodigami still at full health, but taking his own fight in Dome. He goes down, and it's just Cruisen left alive on the low ground, sliding straight into Dark Zero. How much longer will Tyson last?
I thought he was going to hit him with the Hadouken, but right before he could get him with the uppercut, he was taken down. Great shots with the Prowler. Unfortunately for Kodagami, just a little too late in terms of being able to get that animation in. Now we're on board with Razor, who started off great, but now they've been slowed down, and Borton is going to get knocked. You can see the Kraber in the hands of MJ. Oh man, another shot. Every time we're on board with someone with the Kraber, they are just connecting shot after shot. MJ now taking over this lobby. They have the priority position on top of this building. Don't peek. Don't peek. 189 to the head. You also have the wingman coming through. No hesitation. Arc Stars ultimate coming through. They're going to back down just a little bit to go and heal, but the damage has already been done.
That knock not coming in, and instead being responded. Mike and Ike losing control up against two squads that they accidentally picked a fight with. CLG still alive on this high ground as well, have outlasted Dark Zero, and with Nano down, somehow, some way, CLG have managed to make an argument for their position in the top 3. Make it a knock, make it a wipe. SSG are gone, and we're in the top 4.
And they have a great position to play, too. Look at all of this playable area. A lot of head glitches here. Now we're back on board with Team Mike and Ike. The push coming in from ESA. A great scan, but the headshot doesn't connect there for MJ. He's going to have to relocate. The roof is definitely going to be the play. Instead of climbing up, he's going to elect to go and fly up instead. And you can see why. The shots looking good. Not able to connect with max damage. Doesn't have a battery. That's the key moment in this fight there, Dia. Having big heals is key, so he's going to back off, makes the call to his teammates that he's no longer in the area, and ESA bullying Team Mike and Ike for a great spot on the map.
Now with everyone dropping down here, Mike and Ike in a very vulnerable position. Esports Arena are looking down at them, so are CLG. And while it's just a two-man here, it's a two-man that controls the high ground. Mamba and Abraleli with so much open space over towards this final ring. CLG still in big control of who lives and who dies. Have Mike and Ike that are going to come up from the low ground, but are struggling with where exactly to prioritize. Do they try and fight over by Lava Siphon, where Esports Arena are getting antsy?
Another great Q coming in for Mamba. Phony has to dodge that one. They have a little bit of area inside of the Lava Siphon building that is going to be in. And oh, hello. Hey, what's up, Team Mike and Ike? They're flying in, and they're going to be able to take the second level of this building, but is it going to be for free? ESA is not messing around. They're trying to make their way out over towards the roof. There goes the burst damage coming in for Phony. That's Wizard Coin going down first. 2 players sitting shoulder to shoulder. 3 shots coming in for Phony. It's only Greek, the last player alive. He's able to do it. Zone 6 upcoming here very shortly, and CLG has been able to live throughout all of this. It's a 3-on-2. Buff Pathfinder now dropping Dia. This is the moment that they've been waiting for. Can they take their first win of the day? The final game on World's Edge in a 2v1. They're playing this one safe. They don't know that maybe it's just Mamba on the opposite side. Maybe they think that's another player, but you can see it's a 3-on-2 situation that they're potentially losing. Mamba gets the first one. They're using the knockdown shield. He has a battery in his back pocket. Bursty versus Mamba for the win. You can see the advantage now going into Mamba. He has no idea where he is. Bursty, he's behind the knockdown shield, and that should be it. It's CLG versus Bursty. Oh my god. Is he going to burn him for the win? He is. Oh my god. Bursty. No, not like this, man.
In what universe do CLG as a 2-person squad come out the winners against 3 full teams? That is the CLG. That is the esports arena that this squad was born in the fires of. What a way to finish that game. And I mean, off the back of what was an increasingly chaotic lobby, I see no better way to cap off World's Edge.
They slowed it down right there. They had the advantage. They had the knock. Oh, that has to burn, and burn it did with the Maggie Q coming in from behind. The RE45 just puts in serious work, but what a job there from Mamba. 2,700 damage, 8 kills, 4 assists. In a situation like that, when you win a 2 versus 3, I feel like you should get some extra points, Dia.
Yeah, I think it's worth considering. I'm going to talk to the admins before they inevitably shoot me down, but for almost 3,000 damage, Mamba was putting in overtime, and CLG did a miraculous job overcoming the struggles that they faced from being knocked down to 1 member in the early game to having to make their way out with no cover, by the way, from Big Mod, controlling the open ground by Lava Siphon and knowing the perfect time to pounce. It's a lot of dominoes that have to fall in exactly the right way. And CLG can thank their lucky stars and thank Mamba that they came out on top of game number 3. We are going to be transitioning over to Stormpoint, though, for a totally different look at Apex Legends Pro Night. And before we do that, I want to hear from Yesa.
I'm reminded of some sage words from a fellow casting peer, spoken in the halls of Madison Square Garden. The faithful shall be rewarded there. CLG and Mamba clutching up in the 1v2 there. Buff Pathfinder taking the patient approach there at the end, not having all the information as the 2-man, and unfortunately for them, they don't take the aggressive approach, and that allows Mamba to lay down multiple grenades to eat through the health bars of the 2 remaining members on Buff Pathfinder. The RE45 just doing work there at the end of that game, and a little bit of a dance around the knockdown shields, but ultimately it's Mamba that comes out on top with the win, and CLG with a huge W here in game number 3. That's going to be some great momentum for them going into the second half of the day on Stormpoint. So well played there from Mamba at the end, and the stats say it all. A lot of work done by Mamba and the rest of the squad there. Of course, Alberlily rounding things out there alongside Nano, but CLG with a hell of a finish there, and well done. Let's jump into our Mobile 1 high performance moment here for game 3. And I imagine I know exactly what it's going to be. It's the finish. Mamba stepping up here with the RE45. Does have just enough breathing room here, as they called out on the cast, to get off this battery, and this is huge. And also, you could tell Bursty didn't seemingly have a good idea of where Mamba was. Either that or Bursty's initial play was just to try and get into the knock shield cover, but I would imagine you probably want to try and get some shots off on your way. So I don't know that Bursty even had the information that Mamba was crouching behind that knock shield. Slides in, you get the initial shots with the RE45 to whittle away at that shield, and then it's just easy pickings for Mamba. Throws out the drill, couple more shots there at the end, but yeah, that just initial burst to just melt the entirety of Bursty's armor there just does it all for Mamba, and able to easily clean up for the win here for CLG. So well played from them, and a very exciting, and I would agree with you, a fitting finish to our action on World's Edge. I do believe we have the leaderboard. Production, popping in my ear? Yes, we do. And so this is where we stand through 3 games here tonight. Luminosity buoyed largely by their Game 1 performance in first place with 36 points, but Esports Arena right on their heels. They've been pretty darn consistent here through our first 3 games, just a couple of points behind. And Leave No Witness rounding out that top 3, tied with SSG at 31 and CLG right on their heels at 30 points. So it's a big, tight race inside of that top 5, and even outside of it. Esoteric, Odebates, I'm not even exactly sure how to pronounce it, but Dark Zero, Buff, Pathfinder, all these teams at 20 points or above are still in a very good position with 3 games to go to try and close that gap, but the work needs to start now. Game 4 needs to be a good game for those teams between 6th and 9th place. You cannot let Luminosity, Esports Arena, Leave No Witness, SSG, CLG, you cannot let these teams pull further away from you, because it becomes more difficult as the night goes on to close that gap. So the work needs to start now. And we will have that work kicking off when we come back. Game 4 on Stormpoint T-Squared. And Dia will have all the action for you when we come back.
Tyson boneless buffalo bites have that tasty kick of flavor, so they're perfect for any get-together. If there are any left when your guests arrive. Tyson Anytizers Chicken. More kicks of flavor, more smiling snackers, more to love. Tyson.
Welcome back to Series E, ladies and gentlemen, where we are in it to win it, or at least 3 squads are. Luminosity Gaming, LNW, and CLG have all won their individual games so far, but now we change things up. From our winner's POV in CLG's spot over by Thunderwatch, we're going to be going just down to the south of Wall and to the, west of Command Center for our next couple of rings. And a lot of teams got a long ways to get there, notably Luminosity Gaming, who currently sit in first, who will be making their way up from Fish Farms, and Aegon by AOC, who need to do the same, coming from Cenote and are already encountering trouble, T-Squared.
Wall endings are a lot of fun, Dia. Can't wait to see where these teams are going to position. A lot of playable area over there, a couple of buildings. That bridge has a couple of spots on each side. Underneath the bridge, also playable. Ooh, little cheeky spot inside of the window coming in from Orioles. Also some good shots from the window happening on turn side with the R301, and they're interested.
Gun still looking for their angle. Orioles already showed up in game number 2. Gets a nice chunk of damage down. Finds the knock alongside Horsey in this 4th game. And Horsey, I think, with a really nice disengage as well, manages to keep the tempo in Aegon's control, using their numbers advantage wisely. Orioles knows who they're hunting. They know where they're going. And Original Muffins is down. Team Milk, they are down and out entirely, as Cenote Caves is now empty but for Aegon.
You know who would fit in great with that team? I'm not trying to replace Jeff Merckx or anything, but Crispy Bacon, because you have maple syrup, you have muffins, and then if you added crispy bacon, that's a full-on breakfast. You have some milk to go with that for Team Milk, and it's a pretty healthy way to start your day. I mean, is bacon really healthy? Not quite sure, but still tasty. As we see LNW, winners from game number 2. A little cheeky play from Crypto, trying to get in over here, sneak his way forward, maybe find his way into his drone so he could buy some information for his team. But we can see the player outlines, and they have no idea exactly where anyone is located, but they could be interested in hitting this crafter because they need to get some armor. This is a crafter that's in the open, though, and it's very risky to take that one. But if you do have your teammates covering over towards the high ground, that should be a good spot. They're trading some resources as well, some cells and batteries being used. You can see 2 batteries, 8 cells, 3 arc stars. It's going to be a good opportunity to potentially get some more if they do want to go on over towards that area, but it said they're more focused on pushing on over towards the zone, and rightfully so. I mean, they have Loba. They could get loot off of the Black Market Boutique if they really wanted to.
I like that you pointed out the arc stars. I'm just now looking at them going, does Renner really want to be playing Horizon? Or are they just being put on crypto duty right now? And secretly they're like, give me a black hole. I don't want this EMP garbage. I have to say, though, if the coach is putting them on crypto duty, it's been working out pretty well so far. Leave no witnesses. Have had a calculated approach to the game that teams like Intel tried to mirror in game number 1. And it is this sort of mitigation of RNG that we talked about then that is really important, but ultimately is still going to be, I would say, even more difficult on maps like, say, Storm Point, where long range is really a valuable prospect to consider, but managing the multiple angles of approach into POIs seems to be the biggest challenge.
You know, I think that you're right, Dia. He wants to be playing on Horizon. 3 arc stars is just a little ridiculous, because if he was wanting to play crypto, those would be Altic cells. But there you go. They're going to take on over towards the sky. I'm always a little paranoid that one of these trees is going to grief these players, but fortunately, they are able to get to some safety directly in front of them. You can see nothing coming up on the Valkyrie scans. A couple players, and you can see on that mini-map on the top left of your screen exactly where those players are going to be located. But this is the spot that players are trying to get towards. They're trying to make their way on over towards the wall pings happening for Team Tyson, and Team Tyson's had themselves a pretty solid day so far. We've seen some great plays for them in the mid game, but can they get on over towards the end games? The closest that they've been was when they were over towards that big mod area. Big spray happening on over towards the top of this area, which is gonna cost Cruisin almost his life and just a sliver of HP. That is at least, we'll give him, let's say 3 HP overall if I had to guess.
Yeah, that was not a whole lot. Maybe a stiff breeze would have meant that one man down and CLG maybe just capitalizing, but a defensive position from them as CLG take a vastly different approach than Tyson, who are trying to control the high ground right now, using a lot of mobility and the zip lines ahead of them to make sure that they have as much influence over the game as possible. CLG sort of waiting for those numbers to whittle down, as they don't want to have to play the game of fighting for territory nearly as much as everyone else. Caustic going to be really valuable for them in holding ground, and Esports Arena approaching the game in a third distinct way as they play zone and actually have found themselves face to face with the team who's currently eating a little bit of it, as Arcstar does go a little bit wide. Phony fortunately had a second one to toss down there, and Esports Arena may still get aggressive yet. They don't have a whole lot of verticality though. It's only Greek that can drop down without having to risk being stuck down there. Knock comes in from Phony. It's SSG below them, but Esports Arena are still playing things extraordinarily slow.
As they should. They don't want to give up any major advantages, especially when you have the high ground. Wait for your opportunity. Full heal throughout all of this, and then collapse, and it seems like that was the right move, especially against a team that they're going up against. Designful, the first one to get knocked. He was trying to make his way out over towards the gravity cannon, but it's going to be another knock happening on a Greek, and SSG gets eliminated by the hands of ESA. Methodical slow play was the key there, Dia. You brought that up, and again, you don't want to make any major mistakes. They really didn't want to get knocked in that type of situation early, but when you have the Bangalore, you have the golden knockdown shield, the smokes coming through, the res happening as well, and all is fine in the world of ESA. Now we see what's up with Team Razor, and again, it's so unfortunate for Team Razor. They were a first team that we watched in game number 1. They had SSG on the ropes. They got 2 out of the 3 kills. Drop escaped, and then he picks up 3rd place while Razor was shortly eliminated by the team that won that game in LG. So a series of unfortunate events for Razor. They're going to have to get back on track here on Stormpoint, and it's completely possible. They just need to get some sort of momentum and maybe take a little page out of ESA's book and slow play it. And ESA, they're continuing to wreak havoc.
Waiting just the right amount of time to get that full fry, the crisp sizzle on a member of Luminosity Gaming. Jaguares down. Esports Arena are on the hunt. They can save that kill for later because Phony is continuing to rocket forward, knowing that he's got the rest of the team behind him. Still has scans onto now what we know is the low ground, and with backup coming in, it looks like Esports Arena are going to turn around on what was already a turn and burn. Phony loses shields and already has lost Bangalore, but Yanya goes down as well. Esports Arena gets shot in the back. Greek is going to pop into the cannon. 1 HP. He goes out in the air, and it's Razor that come back to turn around the series of unfortunate events.
That's what they needed. They needed to gain some sort of momentum with a little bit of passive-aggressive play, and it ends up working out for them. That's what they needed to get their confidence going back, as a couple other players are going to be eliminated directly in front of them. And now they get rewarded with all of this loot. Upgrades on top of upgrades. Great loadouts coming in for Bort and the R301 PK, the 1-2 scope, one of my favorites to use. And they're checking all of their corners, making sure that they're going to be safe. Round 2 is closing. Plenty of time to rotate. Again, you could heal through round 2 and be in a good spot, and they have the meds to do so. Med kits, syringes, Phoenix kits, everything that they need at their disposal, plus the pings happening right on the edge of the zone. I love that Borton is the one taking initiative here and trying to scout in front of his team. He's checking, again, all of his corners. Even when you have a seer, why not? Just in case he's actually missing something. And they're going to get rewarded with some good positioning here on the outside edge of the zone. And it's really crazy to watch how the difference between the pace of World's Edge compared to Stormpoint, because now that we've switched on over towards Stormpoint with everything being a little bit more spread out, I feel like teams know how to play World's Edge, so they're just playing hyper aggressive and working on their team fighting. It's been years and years of World's Edge, right, Dia? So when it comes to Stormpoint, all these players are looking to capitalize on how to play in these final zones with a lot of teams here. So the respect for everybody, the pace is going to slow down a little bit more, and I think that's what we're all here to kind of enjoy, is those massive amount of teams inside of these small circles.
Yeah, it's just every every oob position on World's Edge, every nook and cranny you could find with your eyes closed at this point, especially if you're a pro player and have been for a long time. That's what tonight's all about. Pro Night is where we get to feature that kind of talent. No hands, perhaps taking a different approach, have this fresh perspective that they are bringing in here and now, but onto Storm Point as they get super aggro, even perhaps a little bit discoordinated. RJ does still find a knock, but a 1-for-1 is not what you were looking for as No Hands sitting in 14th right now, bottom half of the lobby. They've got another squad rocking up on them, but elsewhere on the map, we've got more fights breaking out. No Hands do go down as Buff Pathfinder roll up to this, taking down Purple Dragon as well. The kills continue to roll in, and teams continue to roll in here as Big Tarkov guy gets fried, and it's Dark Zero that have shown up to take part. Buff Pathfinder throwing some shots back. Esoteric going down in the meantime, and DZ able to stabilize for just a moment. As BWC go out, and it's like our 8th Horizon ult that's landed in this building.
Yeah, who's got the infinite Horizon ult glitch happening? I want to know so I can type it in. Is it, up, up, down, down on the D-pad? Do you have to only be using controller? Because I do. As you can see, DZ now looking at so many different areas inside of this building. Heads on a swivel, and really unfortunate timing there for Buff Pathfinder. They left one of their teammates inside, but that is the use of the Horizon ult. You toss that in so it separates people. Sometimes you use it as just an AoE move instead of actually going for the Arc Star or grenade play. And now, speaking of momentum, we saw Razor picking it up, and DZ is probably one of the last teams that you want to pick up momentum in this lobby.
And it's the value of their competitive experience as well that keeps them from being third-party like so many other teams were. It's a clean reset from DZ, focused outwards on putting out pressure, on showing presence around the rest of the map, around this POI, shall we say, this building, that ultimately makes it so that their win is the final one of that particular engagement. Razor still look down on them from above, and as we look down on the map from above, we've got a long way to go moving up towards this ring. Leave No Witnesses right next door to this next zone close have already lost Rena, our Horizon disguised as a crypto, but they are striking back to eliminate a member of Intel. Flinzar full thirsted, and Rena getting rezzed.
You think Rena's just going to throw his drone out there like it was a Horizon ult, and, maybe the EMP is what he needs. The EMP into the Arc Stars, new meta being formed there by Rena, but here's DZ after their clean fights inside of the building. Now they're outside looking into the smoke, and shots from Jen Burton like he's almost hacking, hitting there. Love watching Jen Burton play. I mean, he plays controller, but he's also a beast on mouse and keyboard. The vibes are always so high for this DZ team as they prepare for the ALGS Split 1 playoffs here happening in 2 weeks in London. And we were waiting to see when these players were going to pop off, and it's interesting how they've been able to kind of have a better performance on Storm Point than on World's Edge, as now the zone is starting to close. It's zone number 3, but he just scoots in on the perfect timing to avoid any type of damage, and now it's on. They've already seen a couple players stuck in a corner. That's the last place that you want to be, especially going up against Jen Burton on this Horizon. Shots happening onto Yanya. It's going to be LG possibly going down here, and it's LG getting eliminated. Aegon by AOC also eliminated by fellow partner team Mike and Ike. Heals happening for all of DZ, and they find themselves back where they started.
It's that triple swing that is absolutely deadly, controlling the angles, and much like we saw Leave No Witnesses doing earlier, it's this constant outnumbering on every peak that DZ utilized to their advantage to come out on top. Currently sitting in 6th overall, 9 squads left. We've got plenty of time for DZ to make their move into the top 3 towards the second half of the day. They've even got some shots from afar. Still needing to push up into the likes of Leave No Witnesses, but first, getting a little bit aggressive on this bamboo. That is going to be a smooth disengage from Bloodhound ult, but Jen Burton goes down unable to pull the same move on Horizon. It may very well be Dark Zero that get aggressed on now, and very much aware of that. They're using this Bloodhound ult to get a little bit more pressure to reset and hopefully to find this res onto Jen Burton, who's on maybe 10 HP.
And Sharky's going to end up using the smoke to try to get Jen Burton back in this one. Plus, they know that they can see through the smoke with the Bloodhound ultimate. Unfortunately for Jen Burton, he does get thirsted. I'm not quite sure if they have a mobile respawn beacon either throughout all of those death boxes. You're hoping to find one. You can see no reses in the area as they're going to go and take the zipline over towards the high ground. Always scary flying into a zipline. You never know if there's a team sitting inside one of these adjacent buildings. But now we switch on over to Mike and Ike, who's had some pretty good moments on Stormpoint, especially with their 50-50 wins. MJ taking out over to Sky. We've seen this a million times.
Oh, eats a lot of damage on the way back down as well. With verticality expiring, out goes that Horizon grab lift, and Mike and Ike are going to have to walk it up at LNW. There goes the Arc Star that we talked about earlier. It forces all of Mike and Ike to take the long way round, and they miss out on Silent as a result. MJ throws in some crucial cover for the squad, but now he's getting shot in the back, and everybody has to funnel into wall. Mike and Ike go down. LNW still with 2 up. Full send it into wall, but it's a meat grinder to them as Leave No Witnesses take down Intel and still get chewed through in this corner. Rena, even Arc Starring in front of them, nowhere to run, meets their untimely end. Dark Zero sitting here, gatekeeping, having a laugh because they've made it to the top 5.
We never would have thought after seeing the 3 Arc Stars that Rena had that the final one would end up griefing himself as he chucked that one directly into the wall and had nowhere to go. But I love the thought process from Loba. They knew that they were absolutely done for inside of that tunnel, and Rena decides he's going to stay and use the knockdown shield. Unfortunately, it's just a gray knockdown shield. DZ, though, as that duo, even without Jen Burton, is able to pick up some extra kill points and some extra placement points as we now see the final teams postured on over towards the wall. Remember, we said there's a lot of playable area over here. There's a couple of buildings. There's also that bridge area that you can utilize, and that seems to be where everybody has positioned themselves. Usually the team on the outside, like where CLG is going to have a pretty good advantage because look at the amount of real estate that they're able to gobble up. They're really pushing forward while gathering information the entire time. Good spray there from Alberelli. That's going to give them the red Evo shield, also take the player down to no shields. And based on where everyone's positioned, you can see they're going to kind of be forced to fight, and it's up to CLG to kind of force them into one another.
Octobites sieging down onto the low ground with 5 squads left. Interestingly enough, Oirain will be going up against some of his former teammates, but unfortunately, it's Dark Zero that come in to interrupt. Oirain down, and Octobites maybe losing control of this high ground. Quick res gonna go off. Miraculously, Hackys is not getting shot in the side, and Octobites managed to hold on to this height for now, retreating into the safety of the building, the last building that's going to be left in zone. CLG, after taking their time, will have to siege up against 2 of our EMEA squads here, with Los Carritos holding down on the top of the building and Octobites underneath.
Yeah, everybody coexisting on this building here, but again, remember, the team on the outsides typically have this type of advantage because these teams will eventually be forced down and have to fight. This zone should pull directly into the middle of this zone, and that's exactly what happens. It's not directly in the middle, but it is fairly close, as again, they're going to play this roof as long as possible. The problem with playing these roofs in the Horizon meta is that eventually some team is going to try to take advantage of this, because this is going to be the god spot for majority of these teams, and if you do not stay on your toes the entire time, eventually someone's going to take it. Smart move from Sharky to continue to throw smokes up there. I like that play, just buy some extra time. And again, they do have a res beacon, and that could be the move that they're looking for. 20 seconds until the next smoke. It's risky, and Jen Burton could be calling out for it. You know, if it's me, I'm like, guys, be the bro. You know, what would the homies do? The homies would full send and go for the respawn.
10 seconds left, and it's NA versus EMEA. NA a man down, and like you say, calling for the res. Get me back in there. Dark Zero are playing extraordinarily cautiously on this low ground, and it's EMEA that have the high ground. In comes that Bloodhound ult, buying a little bit of space, maybe pushing these 2 deadly squads into CLG, but Dark Zero are playing for their lives right now. They don't have the space, but they hear the gunshots inside EMEA. They're fighting fighting between each other, and there are drops on both sides. We're gonna have a climb up from Dark Zero up the side of this building. In comes the RE45 that clutched up last game. Octobytes are down, and it's just Los Corridos left inside this building. CLG still winning on the outside. Los Corridos have expired, and it's a 2 versus 3 for Dark Zero to try and take this win. CLG want their second of the day, and they are knocking, bashing down this door. Quick reset gonna come in on the inside. Out a wide swing with the RE45, and out of the zone we go again to buy a little bit more time. Mamba gassing up the inside, and CLG play with their food, laying down the Arc Stars, but not finding a knock just yet. Nano goes low, he pops right back up, can't finish off Sharky, finally gets the knock, and it's one member of Dark Zero up against 2 of CLG. Mamba still knocked, but CLG clutch it up at the end. It was a sweat fest in this final ring.
What a final ring. That's what Apex Legends competitive is all about. That's what Series E is all about. And CLG with back-to-back wins. They win 2 versus 3. Surely they can't lose a 3 versus 2, Dia.
Looking pretty darn good, I've got to say. Winning not just last game in a 2 versus 3, but now technically this one in a 2 versus, yeah, we'll call it a 2 versus 2. I'm not gonna go with 1 versus 2 there, but I like the odds. CLG, they are looking confident, they are looking clean, and honestly, like, they are playing the game. The game is not being allowed to play them. It's been 2 very different styles of game from CLG, from playing zone in game number 3. Sorry, yeah, from playing like a more edge of zone style in game number 3, having to move their way in from Big Mod, and from just sitting in wall the whole game in game number 4.
Yeah, why not? Especially because the zone is fairly predictable in Stormpoint. It typically just continues to pull where that original pull is. But one thing is that when you watch how Mamba was able to win game number 3, that gives a huge confidence boost and a big energy boost to the rest of the players on the team. And you think, all right, well, this is a newly formed squad. That's what you're looking for. You're looking for the hype in those type of moments to carry you through and make your squad that much stronger. That win that they got in game number 3 means a ton for CLG, and it's really putting their team on the map now.
Yeah, it's clearly been a awesome day, and not just in terms of the points, but in terms of that synergy for CLG, who again are mixing up their roster right now. The way that Aberlele has been able to gel with this squad, incredible. And to hear a little bit more about them and the way the rest of the lobby is looking, let's hear from Yeso.
Couldn't agree with you more on that last point, Dia. Alb has felt like a very good fit in this CLG roster for the last couple of weeks. Of course, plenty of time till the start of the next split in Pro League, and CLG has plenty of time to continue to iron things out, test out different, compositions from a team perspective and otherwise. But early returns looking good here for Alb as possibly a new third on this CLG roster, so we can keep an eye on that situation as it continues to develop. But CLG with a nice win here, not as action-packed for them up until the final moments of that game as game number 3. And you see Mamba not quite stacking the damage as he did last time around, but still a controlled and concise finish here from the CLG squad that clean up these last 4 players and are able to take a nice victory, and getting back-to-backs does really bode well for them. We took a good look at where things were on our Mobile 1 leaderboard just a little bit ago, and it was still sitting with Luminosity in first place, but CLG very close behind. I believe it was just a 6-point gap between themselves and first place, so a big opportunity for them to make some moves on that leaderboard. It looks like they were able to do just that. The question will be, where have these other teams ended up after game number 4 and with just 2 more to go? We'll check that out in a moment. Let's first look at our Mobile 1 high performance moment here from game number 4 and take a look back at what we just saw. And it is going to be the finish. You've got Nano up on the high ground, laying down the Arc Stars, does throw out the bubble shield, and just able to sneak behind the pill, but not quite able to get away from danger is Sharky. And then it's just calm, cool, and collected play from CLG here right at the end. We don't exactly see the final kill as we just get a peek at Nano finishing off that knocked player, but we know that they had things covered on both sides of the smoke here, and just a good job here from Nano playing safe, right? You don't risk it. You see that Sharky is likely going to be pretty low here. The callouts are going to be coming through. Nano easily cleans that up. You see the comms. They're pinging out where this player is despite the smokes being down. And as soon as there's any pressure, Nano knows I've got the bubble. I can back off, throw down the ultimate. I've got the teammate for backup. And CLG just good communication around those last couple of kills, and it helps him secure back-to-back wins here in Series E. Now let's look at that Mobile One leaderboard and see where everybody else stands here in comparison to CLG, because of course, with those back-to-back wins, they may have just hopped past Luminosity at the top of that leaderboard. Do we have it? Yes, we do. Wonderful. So CLG at 46 points, Dark 0 with that second place finish and a solid performance, jump all the way up into second place. They were down, if I remember correctly, around 6th to 8th place here going into this game. Meanwhile, Leave No Witness keeping things rolling, and LG have really cooled off since that stellar Game 1 performance, really slowing down. Esports Arena with one of their toughest performances of the day here in game number 4, but still in a good position, just 8 points behind first place. But it's really that top 5 continuing to be the ones in the mix. SSG and the EMEA boys tied in 6th place, still with an opportunity, but they've got quite a bit of ground to make up here and not a lot of time to do so. Just 2 games remaining ahead of us. And of course, Mike and Ike inside of that top 10, trying to make some moves here. We'll see what they can do here at the end of today. We're going to a break right now. When we come back, T-Squared and Dia head back to Storm Point Game 5 when we return.
Welcome back, folks. We are about to hit game number 5, the penultimate game of the day, which is surprisingly, I think the first time I've ever used that while somebody said a series of unfortunate events, which is where I learned that word within the past 20 minutes. So thank you, T-Squared. I know that was a tangent, but I trust that you're all right. We are going to jump into, anyways, the second to last game of the day, and this is where I would normally say things get crazy, but things have already gotten kind of wild, and to be honest with you, T-Squared, this last game of Stormpoint felt like the most controlled game we've had since we started the day.
Yeah, and again, I think that it just comes down to the players really wanting to get this final circle of knowledge because they've been through all of that in World's Edge. They were looking to kind of heat up in terms of team fighting, then things slowed down. It was more methodical play, and I think that's the pace that we came to kind of expect. And I thought that Yeso brought up a good point in terms of slowing down. LG's definitely slowed down because the pace has, and they were looking to start a lot of fights, and they weren't able to find those engagements that they were looking for so far. But the team that we were kind of looking for and wondering when they were going to pop off showed up. It was DZ. A lot of fights inside of that one building. I think 2 or 3 separate fights where we saw a handful of death boxes. They lost out on Jen Burton, and they were still able to get a handful of points moving forward. So great job from them, but this has been the team of the day so far. Wins in game number 3, wins in game number 4. Can they go for the three-peat like the Chicago Bulls? We'll find out very soon, as Albarelli has been absolutely fitting in with this squad. And again, Mamba with that big win, the 1v2 at the end of game number 3, really boosting this team's stock and confidence overall as we see the first fight of the game happening. Good shots from Owaku with the flatline.
Couple knocks, couple thirsts already in the lobby as well, but Los Carritos, they give no space. They take it all. Out go those smokes, and Uchako gets to push up along the side. Bit of a window, gives him a keen eye towards controlling this next engagement, but does need the rest of the team to join on up. Uchako, for all that he is mechanically talented, not going to be a one-man army here. Pushes up, gets that flank, and with some help from Esteves, finds the first knock of this fight. Smoke to cover the door, gonna get double pushed right here, has to do all the damage he can for the team, for the lads! RJ takes him down, Hiarka falls as well, and Los Carritos almost lose control here. Through the smoke, R301 finding almost no damage. Esteves forced to take the reset behind these knockdown shields. Plenty of ammunition, rockets now flying wide, and no hands get taken down by just that eensy little bit of damage.
Presence of mind to shoot that through the smoke. Why look for the shot when you could shoot a handful of missiles? It's exactly what he does as we see what Aegon by AOC is up to. Love watching turns on horizon, but that's going to be a couple kills going on, and MDS gets eliminated in the 50-50 over towards Barometer. MDS, it's good to see them back in here in Series E. This has been one of our open teams that have now gotten into the Pro Nights, and Crazy Ninja's been in situations where he's had to rat it out a lot of these times, but they've been sticking together with their entire team as we see where the zone's going to be moving over towards Fish Farms and LG, where they were looking for a bounce back game, and they get rewarded with the zone. So we'll see what their play style is going to be. Do they play Gatekeeper? With the Valkyrie meta, it's most likely going to be them going back on over towards where that respawn beacon is, or excuse me, where that beacon is, to try to gather information where these upcoming zones are going to be, as we see potentially crypto teams having a huge value towards the back of Fish Farms.
Yeah, in positions like Pro League, like Oversight, LG typically will try and opt into some of the buildings that scatter around that northmost end of Fish Farm, see if they can make that position flexible, but scrims have been really important for all these squads recently, and oh my god, that thermite was like perfectly placed. Uchako very well, deservedly, gets the knock off of that. Jeff goes down and is going to be full thirsted here, no two ways about it. Los Carritos are all over the fight by Downed Beast and pick up one additional KP to stack onto the 3 they already have.
They've started off pretty hot, and they're going to continue to try to do so. Speaking of coming in hot, it's going to be the Trident for Team Razor. Borton with a sliver of HP. He gets inside of the building and elects to go for the med kit. Ooh, scary moment right there as they also find some extra healing there, but there's no time to heal. There goes the Seer ultimate. There goes the Horizon Black Hole as well. Arcstar's on top of Arcstars. going in for Team Razor, but they are on the ropes now. They took so much damage coming in, and it's Team LG sitting in the back defending where their landing spot is going to be. Say, hey guys, you can't rotate in here for free. You're going to have to answer the call, but because they understand where the zone is and understand how the flow of the game works, smart decision to back off. If they go in there and anybody gets knocked on their team, there's going to be a handful of vultures in the area. CLG now fighting their first knock. It's the baby coming through, and Albueli is going to elect to go with the heals on the outside of the bubble. I think this is extremely smart. He has a lot of different areas that he could elect to go, but making sure that he gets these meds off is going to be crucial for his team's survival. It's going to be tough to see through all of that smoke. They know that the back door is going to be covered. Shots happening through the window. Nice connect with the 45 purple with the wingman. But now that they know that they already have one knock, it is time to full send, and that's how you do it. Very methodical throughout all of that and showing a lot of respect to every single team that they go up against. But at the same time, it's been demolishing to watch this team work.
CLG really putting those beefy boys to good use as well. Mamba and Nano setting up the dominoes for Abraleli to come in and help them knock it all down. Luminosity continuing on this push, though, have continued to get hyper aggressive, and with Washi falling, it's the first in yet another short line of dominoes to take down another squad. Razor are down, top 16 teams, and approaching Luminosity Gaming's territory down here in the south, over by Fish Farms. It's a dangerous proposition. SSG taking that very same space that Luminosity held moments ago. They've given it up temporarily. Now can they climb their way back? Can they kick SSG out their home?
Trying to evict him out of there. Hitting him with the notice on the door. Someone has to pay their rent here very soon, and it could be SSG, but I love the 30-30 in situations like that. Trying to land some damage. He's not able to, as the R9 in the back pocket, and the pressure is on. Designful taking a lot of damage. He's going to get knocked. Yanya is able to find that one, but it's going to be answered right back. The one clip happening for Frex, even when the battery ended up popping off. Looks like he's going to end up going for the thirst, but the world's best knockdown shield is directly in front of him, so he's just going to elect to take the high ground, coming from the back, and here comes the third party. It's DZ, and they're starting to heat up on Storm Point.
Now looking at SSG as well, it's Dark Zero that have relieved some of the pressure off Luminosity Gaming. Gotta wonder where the rest of the roster went. Down on the low ground, it's a quick reset for the Dark Zero lads as Jen Burton continues to play ring around the Rosie in this building. No additional kills following up just yet, but it is a all-out battle, a brawl for this southernmost point of the map where, as history would suggest, we should continue pulling where every pro team is expecting us to go. Mike and Ike go down. They won't be joining us in this final ring, but Dark Zero makes sure that Frex won't be either.
DZ seems so much more comfortable on Storm Point than on World's Edge, which is kind of odd, but they are dominating right now ever since we've switched maps. Good burst damage coming in from turns with the R301. He has the Anvil too, which we haven't really seen much of today, and I don't think this team's got the notice on where turns is. He's just putting in massive damage. Bodie Tony unfortunately taken out, and it's very tough to hold these capsule buildings. I mean, there's a lot of angles you can see, Dia, that are just completely open. There's the roof that the enemy team can play. There's the bottom ramps that they could run up. There's an opening over towards the top-hand side as well. And in this 3-on-2 situation, Aegon by IOC has a huge advantage.
I'm getting some massive deja vu as we hit the roof once again. Turns getting shot in the back right now. Does drop down to finish the elimination of Esoteric, but Los Carritos have come in from behind while SSG are eliminated. Meanwhile, we move ourselves down to 12 squads, and it's one of the fastest games that we've seen in terms of how soon we reach placement point territory. Teams have already all accumulated 1 point. They're about to accumulate a second once we hit the top 10 squads, and Los Carritos are definitely doing their part to keep that pressure on, to make sure that teams are continuing to fight and they're involving themselves in those conversations. Their movement, however, does have to be focused, as with 1 minute left until the ring close, they've still got to make their way over to Gale Station.
Surely things slow down here as we move into, like you said, that extra placement point area, but that's going to be the EMEA squad running up from the northern side. They may end up meeting up with the team on your screen, which is ESA. But so many teams are over towards that southern side inside of fish farms that if there was a fight, it would just create a huge domino effect of team after team, third party after third party showing up. But I'm anticipating, again, things to slow down a little bit. It was a bloodbath to start, but it reminds me a little bit of that zone that we saw in game number 1, where everybody had to cross all the way across the map, and that created a lot of team fight scenarios.
And in this particular case, Esports Arena will be saving themselves that trouble throughout the mid-game, having noticed exactly the same thing that you did, that really being caught up in these traffic jam points is difficult. They've actually got a pretty nice spot if they play it proactively. Over from Launchpad, you have the opportunity to take that gravity cannon on your way down towards the south, and avoid a lot of the fighting that will be happening over by spots like Gale Station that we mentioned earlier. Los Carritos, unfortunately, on a slow rotate, have given up a lot of their autonomy. It is Zone 2. They can tank this for a while, but the priority for Los Carritos is absolutely getting themselves in and being able to play Gatekeeper, playing Edge from a position of strength, not of needing to relocate as quickly as possible. Hiarka already tanking a little bit more extra damage, and they're not the only one. Estavas as well. Uchako leads up the squad with the cover of smokes, but as you talked about, the game is slowing down just that little bit as teams quite literally just don't have the space to fight each other right now.
Gathering some real estate directly in front of them. Remember, there wasn't many teams on the outside looking in, but it's going to be Original Muffins getting knocked, and they did find a squad eventually. But this is just round 2, and again, oh, whoa, well, I thought there wasn't any squads on the outside. Apparently, there's about 4 of them, as you see 2 teams fighting and another one getting involved. These were the teams that were rotating. ESA was another squad to look out for, but look at, they're on the hunt, and they have the Digithreat through the smoke. This is huge for Hawkeyes.
Octobites have fought their way up towards the Gale Station area with this one right back around, and the car, though it swings wide a few times, does do the job of taking down Uchako. A little bit of extra damage thrown in by that Mastiff from Naski, and Octobites pick themselves up what I believe is a second full kill in the zone, leaving just one member of Los Carritos alive. Oirain pops the heel behind this crate and still has the opportunity to play on the inside of Antenna for later on. Do Octobites run it up, believe that this is the last person, or do they chill down here? It looks like we're about to find out. Smokes are down, and we're hitting up some loot boxes real quick to see exactly how comfortable this squad feels with taking additional risks. Esports Arena have made exactly the rotation that we predicted they would earlier, moving up, or rather down, from launch site over towards this gravity cannon, but the zone continues to pull them further south, and this next rotation, that's where it's going to get really tricky, T-Squared.
Fortunately, there's not many squads alive, so it should allow for a little bit easier of a rotation, and there's a lot of playable area on this map specifically with all of the rocks and great environment that Respawn was able to build. A great competitive map too overall. Bocheck Bo being found from Fody. We know what he was able to do with that laser, so give this man a long-range weapon and he's going to end up putting in work. But he's going to go back with the charge rifle and toss that one on over to his teammates. Good guy, Phony. Well, are you really a good guy, though, if you're using the charge rifle and playing Seer? I'm not quite sure.
That's tough, yeah. Has he made the decision to be selfless, or has he made the decision to be a scumbag? Only
True.
Phony can know, and it's a very scary time to be a Apex Legends fan when you don't even know what opinion you can trust. Esports Arena, at the very least, trust in each other. You can trust in that Seer ult as it goes down defensively at their backs, warding off any squads that should be pushing up. Greek's low, but right around the corner, in comes Scumbag or Hero Phony. Who's to know? Right now, though, he is absolutely saving the squad, picking up 2 and making this what looks like a very easy Esports Arena win. Clearing their backs. It looks absolutely simple. Esports Arena should be able to pick up the 3rd kill. Octobites go down, and that's the end of their run in game number 5.
Yeah, you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain, is what Phony said. And it's interesting, as soon as you said back, it's Hockey's getting shot directly in the back throughout all of that. And Phony has been a nuisance ever since game number 1 as Los Corridos is eliminated in the hands of Turns there with the Volt on that horizon as we see what Aegon by AOC is up to. In 8th spot with 25 points, so there's definitely an opportunity for them to maybe push inside of the top 5. We know, I think Mike and Ike was inside there, as the ASO brought up, looking at that Mobile 1 leaderboard. But this is where Turns really starts to heat up. He gets better and better as the games go on. He's got a great combo here with the gold R301 and the Volt in the back pocket, but they do have to eventually rotate forward because you can see the zone has pulled away from them towards the back of Fish Farm still. And every single building should be taken at this point.
The theme of every week of Series E is how much further can our partnered teams push themselves? How much more are we going to see eked out of them at these formative stages of their careers? And Aegon did place in the top 5 just last week. Their goal has to be to go even further in this one. But as you talked about, it's getting a little bit complicated. They're running out of time to really find a way in. And around the outside of this ring, I gotta say, T-Squared, I don't envy their chances. It is a really tough journey to make, even with Bangalore smokes, to keep you relatively safe across this zip line and into the zone. They've only got 40 seconds to figure out how they're going to do it, and there are so many teams that are waiting right there for them to be picked up as kills.
And that's why I'm casting instead of playing, because as soon as that smoke goes down in the window, I'd have been like, all right, guys, let's take the zip line. And then all 3 of us die. And we're like, all right, that was a really, really bad idea. Who said that? It was definitely me. CLG, they've been inside this building for quite some time. Looking for the 3rd win in a row if you're just joining us. They took game number 3 on World's Edge with a nasty 2 versus 3. Mamba with the 1 versus 2 with the RE45 to win that game, going up against Buff Pathfinder. Then a slow and methodical win over towards the wall. 50 points after 4 games. That's what you're looking for, especially when we talk about the Split 1 playoffs coming up here in London in a couple of weeks. That's how you get your rotation in. It's going to be ESA on the Valkyrie, Skyward Dive, and this is the playable areas that Fish Farms allows. We see it so many times when the buildings are taken. You play in these little spots here, and I still have no idea what to call these areas.
I think it's weird because I think they're the actual fish farms of the fish farms. Like the rest of it is just housing for the farmers, but this is the farm for the fish, you know?
Yeah, that's where all the fish are farmed.
Exactly. So really, we could just call them fish farms, but that gets confused. It's really tough. What I'm trying to say is that I agree with you, but it's difficult for me to verbalize because of how many fish farms there are. The nice thing is that the teams seem to have it figured out, and Esports Arena, much like so many others that have come before and will come after them, know that those spots are really safe to play when we come into this end game. You've got it?
Fish ponds.
Fish ponds. The little ponds. I like it.
We have now figured out what to call these things, Dia. Let's spread the word.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna have to see whether these ponds actually end up being solid real estate. Historically, they have been, and Esports Arena should be able to hold them down, but this particular pond has a lot of grates looking down at it, which gives Esports Arena the chance to shoot up, but also the chance to be shot down at, and unfortunately for them, they don't have a whole lot of autonomy from this position. Oh my god! Ooh!
Got a little bit scary right there. As you can see, the pond is hot, so the smokes are going to end up going down. And the movement has to happen. The problem is they've already used their Skyward Dive, and unless they're popping ultic cells, they shouldn't have time to go and move forward. They're going to have to fight their way out of this position.
Might be a Bang Smokes angle. We do have ultimate available, Rolling Thunder, that can force everyone inside to relative cover. Esports Arena gonna make use of that right now, looking for their way in, but into the next pond instead. They're playing things slow, and oh my lord, BJ Yee goes down, and it is a clean beam out of this car from Zenile that takes him out. Esports Arena, that's the go button for them. Phony swings a little too wide, does get taken down. Orioles is the one that picks up up that kill, and ESA are forced to play defense inside of this next pond, right next door to where they started the fight. Rez is going off onto Phony. Greek continues to show presence. Out comes the Rez, but in comes the ring, and down goes Phony again. They are getting full swung on, and Esports Arena do not seem to have a way out. Purple Dragon and CLG goes down. It's just Greek left, and he's got no health. Esports Arena, they are out in game number 5. Tyson take to the ultimate high ground here, challenging where SSG were playing earlier, where LG previously had their home, and taking down LG as Tyson claimed the roof.
Tyson taking a priority position. They have armor swaps, but they're not able to find it. The shots from Cruisin' were so clean, but LNW is starting to heat up. We saw the cleanup on ESA over towards the side. You also have Aegon by AOC, who was able to rotate. DZ takes over the first spot away from CLG, and they're looking to have themselves a field day inside of this building. They're coexisting with another team onside the roof. That's why the Skynade's coming in from Sharky, and he's looking like a shark in the water over here as they eliminate Tyson and take over that roof. LNW, Aegon by AOC, and DZ in your final circle.
Another knock comes in, Dark Zero. I mean, Sharky just destroying with that Prowler at a medium range as well. Pops down onto the low ground, Baby looking for the push onto LNW now. Sharky does smell blood in the water, and as is the animal's trademark, thinks about swinging for it. Doesn't quite go, though. Getting pulled back by the squad. 3 teams left, and the first 2 to fight are so often the ones that end up in second and third. Aegon by AOC playing things slow around the outside as well, trying to sandwich in on Dark Zero. As we have called out so many times today, our multi-international title squad. Aegon are trying to angle them out. LNW are trying to push onto them, and everything is ending in disaster. Dark Zero still can't full engage, but they've got a great angle on this rock, and Aegon are trapped.
So fortunate for Aegon by AOC that the thermite hits the top of the rock. They have to be careful, though, because DZ is starting to heat up, and I believe one of the members on the team has a digi threat. So when you throw that smoke down, a lot of times you don't assume that the enemy team has the counter for that one, as we see massive amount of damage for Team Aegon. Almost all members sitting around 2k damage, as this is the moment. It's going to be a knock onto LNW. They're underneath the building. DZ on top of the roof. It's one more player. I believe that's Panic is the last player that's going to be alive. The shots are happening throughout all of the smoke. There goes the Rolling Thunder. They're going to take out over the sky. It's looking like a Dragon Ball Z fight in the air, and Jed Burton's going to take that one. Panic, the last player alive. Don't think they're going to be able to win this one. It's a 3 versus 1 for DZ. They took over first place from CLG, and they take first place in game number 5.
Finally, DZ find themselves a win, and it was a long time coming. This squad still has this grocery list of things that they want to change moving into the playoffs. They've had so little time to do it, but finally in game number 5, they find themselves the victory, and they look really clean doing it as well. It's this kind of control that you expect from a professional top-tier squad, and Dark Zero give us that glimmer of hope in game number 5. T-Squared, I gotta hope they can do it again in game number 6, but with numbers like that, I'm pretty hopeful.
Well, did they look really clean in their gameplay or the matching skins? Because they were all in that like ocean blue, maybe blending in with the water is their strategy, knowing that it was going to go over towards fish farms. But in all seriousness, that looked clean for sure. That is definitely the word to use. Taking on over the roof, forcing aggression right onto Aegon when you need to. That forced Aegon to kind of play for second place. Unfortunately, they weren't even able to get that because Panic was able to live. There was 2 knocks on LNW. Aegon was looking for the third one. DZ doesn't allow that. And they just look like a completely different team on Stormpoint compared to World's Edge.
Yeah, I want to call this out as well because it can go under-recognized in the end game. Dark Zero had a killer play to win that one, with Jen Burton throwing out the gravity lift behind the cover that Aegon were behind. If that doesn't happen, Aegon live, and if Aegon live, anyone can win. Dark Zero prioritized, made great use of their typically utility cooldowns in an offensive way to unseat Aegon from that cover, and that sort of play, that sort of presence of mind is what helps them walk away with the win in game number 5. With 1 game left, we'll see who can keep their heads in the game, who can make the best use of their abilities, of their team, of their knowledge, and of 5 games to download everyone else. Before we pop into game 6, we're going to hear from Yeso, and we'll see you soon.
Dark Zero attempting to return to that championship form that we have seen them in on a couple of different occasions, as Dia aptly mentioned, right? These are multi-time international champions, and of course they came to NA this year, and a lot of people have been critical of the team, myself included, and I think there's quite a few folks looking at the crop of teams that NA is sending to London here in the next few weeks. And I think quite a few folks don't have Dark Zero at the top of that list in terms of the strongest teams that NA is sending. But Dark Zero seemingly trying to ramp up at the right time and peak in London. That was a really damn good game from them there at the end to grab a win here in Game 5. And they'll be looking really good going into game number 6. Also do have to give credit to Aegon by AOC. Of course, a little disappointed they couldn't get that top 2 finish. They tried to push in, as T-Squared was talking about, to maybe pull away that second place if they were going to be able to, but not quite able to do it. Still with a ton of KP and some good placement points right on top of that. Aegon by AOC, I told you to keep an eye on them at the start of the show, and they're slowly putting some points on the board and building some momentum, so hopefully they can finish on a high note in Game 6. Let's take a look, though, at our Mobile One high performance moment here for game number 5 and take a look back here at the finish, and it is that play that Dia just highlighted, throwing that offensive gravity lift to force Aegon by AOC out of the cover, and it's a quick bang, bang, bang play as all 3 of the members there of Aegon by AOC go down in very quick succession. And then, as already noted by T-Squared and Dia, LNW already heavily wounded, and Dark Zero essentially completely safe through this fight. Relatively high health bars all across the board, so it's an easy pickup in the 3v1 once they wipe out Aegon to grab this last KP and grab the victory for themselves here in game number 5. And now the real question is, where did they end up on our Mobile One leaderboard? Because going into game 5, they were not in the lead, but they have taken it. Remember, they had charged up the standings with their performances in games 3 and 4, and now they have stolen away first place from CLG, a 10-point lead over LNW, and CLG there at 51. So, Luminosity, Esports are going to have an opportunity, but it's going to be tough. That is a considerable gap to make up here with 1 game left to go, and Dark Zero just looking so good on Storm Point, and hats off to Aegon climbing all the way up there to 7th place with a lot of the very talented rosters in tonight's competition. We'll see if, again, they can finish on the high note that they're hoping for here, maybe eclipse that 40-point mark, get something done here in Game 6 on Storm Point. We'll have all of that action for you as we conclude our Pro Night here at Series E Apex Legends. All of that and more when we come back.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's about to be our 6th and final game of the day. I'm not going to ramble like I did about Penultimate. So T-Squared, going into Game 6, what are we looking for?
Well, you have no idea what I'm about to ramble about. You don't want to set me up, because I'll hit that one out of the park. But I'm excited to see what happens between CLG and DZ, because realistically, those are the two teams that have really been popping off. LG's look good at certain times. We've started to see our partner teams start to step it up over towards the tail end of these final games on Stormpoint 2. Great job by Aegon, by AOC coming through, and then we also had Tyson with some pretty decent moves as well. ESA has been popping off, a lot of damage coming through. Phony's looked really impressive, but overall, it really comes down to who's going to walk away with first place and get that extra cash.
Yeah, right now I like that you brought up Aegon, because we are watching them to see whether they can improve, jump a few places from their position last week. We brought it up intra game number 5, and going forward we've got to keep our eyes on it as well. But Leave No Witness is certainly showing up today, as their scrims, particularly in preparing for international competition, have not made me as hopeful as their performance today has. It's been a real breath of fresh air to see the way that LNW are controlling games, and not just through lack of participation. It's not a hands-off game. When you do come knocking at their door, LNW can absolutely fight, and that's got me really excited for their potential in game number 6.
Yeah, they're putting themselves in good positions. They're playing very patient. When they need to play aggressive, they're doing it. It's not like they're just sitting back and letting other teams fight. They're, maneuvering their way through and getting into these priority spots, finding themselves in the final circles. And if you find yourself in numerous final circles game after game, you're going to pick up points. The kill points will come to you. It's all about getting into those placement points, finding those final kills when you really need to. The more fights that you take, the more you're running a risk of maybe losing a player, maybe getting third-partied, etc., etc. This team has figured out that the team on your screen, especially when it comes to Stormpoint, it's another fight happening. It's going to be a 50-50 right off the rip. I know Team Milk's involved.
Before even hitting the ground, I like that you've called it out based on the breakfast-themed names. Team Milk are indeed suffering at what I believe at the hands of Los Carritos, and Hiarka picking up that kill does confirm it. That's a full thirst, and I believe with just a few, I think one member left even, Los Carritos should be running checkpoint yet again. They've come out on the worse end and now on the better end of their individual contests, going 0 for 3 on World's Edge and 3 for 0 on Stormpoint.
Unfortunate for them, but they are going against a very good team in those instances. There go some shots happening for Curse, and they connecting very nicely with the Havoc, one of the stronger weapons right off the rip. Secondary, not so much. BWC, they're going out in 18th, and expect a very aggressive final game here. This is typically what we see. A lot of squads were eliminated early in the previous game, and I can't wait to see what happens here as teams realize the math and figure out, okay, well, we need X amount of points to get inside of the top 3 and finish inside of the money. Orioles from Team Aegon by AOC, 3rd place in the previous game and dropping 3 players right off the rip.
Well, you know what they say, the team that swings together kills everyone else, and that's what Aegon got to do just now over by Barometer, not even making it look close with the amount of firepower they were able to pump out on their individual swings. That is a really nice way to coordinate and just to quite literally outgun. Los Carritos doing a very similar thing as Uchako comes in, frags out onto Chase, and picks up the opening kill for what should be another couple points for Los Carritos. Unfortunately, a separation due to the Horizon Q does take down Uchako. Esteves goes low as well. This is getting risky. Hiarka is getting out-angled, and he lands a sick headshot, picking up the knock, but still does go down in the end. No hands are able to take him down.
The Prowler should win in that type of instance, but the flat line is definitely something to be reckoned with in certain situations. And you could see he got a little bit too close, and the shots didn't really connect in that type of instance, almost like a gun punch. the way that one ended up working out. Another southern zone. This time it's not in the fish farm, so we won't see any fishies inside of the pond this time. But Team Razor gifted with the zone here. They should be able to take advantage of that.
A difficult one to play as well if it does continue pulling down into the south. I like that you've talked about Razor's positioning, but man, oh man, is it difficult for teams that arrive late to spots like this. Coming down, ultimately being likely forced to exit from Shipfall, having no cover as you come over from Barometer. It is everyone's priority to get here as fast as possible. Dark Zero racing LNW to the southern end of the map right now, and everybody ending up in this little no-name village or as close together as they possibly can. Dark Zero do end up winning this small foot race, finding themselves in the ideal position to hold the southern end of the map. But even still, you gotta worry about how things will play out in the late game, because there's going to be a lot of traffic coming your way.
You know who I'm missing? I'm missing the Maggie Wrecking Balls here, because we saw so many awesome Maggie plays going forward, and when I see this Seer, it's kind of like he has a ball that he's going to throw, or he's going to toss something. This time he tosses his ultimate. It's DZ moving forward. They already have the knock on side of the door. The Thermite's being used, and he's just going to run right through his own Thermite. The guy's a madman. Purple Dragon didn't stand a chance to this team that's really starting to heat up.
Wow, that was a move for dominance. Throws out the Thermite and goes, look, I can take this amount of damage and still win. Granted, he did have Jen Burton and Sharky swinging on the other side of things, which does really help, but Dark Zero finding that victory is not an accident. They saw a knock go down from Razor earlier and capitalized on that extraordinarily quickly. It's that ability turn to make calls on a dime that really is going to shift things up in this end game. Luminosity, already having demonstrated that today, are playing just outside of where we last saw Razor, even further to the south, direct of Shipfall, and in one of very few places that a zone like this can end.
We saw what Niesel could do with the Kraber. This time it's the longbow and finds a handful of attachments. The 3X, blue mag, purple barrel. It's got the stock in there. This thing is locked and loaded to go. Someone called Nicewig. He doesn't even need a scope though. You see LG having to deal with the prowlers, those pesky prowlers. Hit him with the axe.
The nice thing is, I mean, you get quite a bit of mats off this, and not just the mats, but the additional shield cells, the ammunition. As pesky as those prowlers are, the earlier you deal with them, the better setup you're going to be in the late game. Esports Arena aren't going to have that kind of privilege. They're coming from all the way in the north. They got a long trek over, and while we have seen this team mostly play around the edge of zone today, it still is going to be quite the challenge for them to be able to convert an edge of zone play, especially in, I keep saying this, a zone like this that is so difficult to arrive late to. Do they actually have a fight here? Yes, they do. Grav Cannon away. This may very well be a solo. I think we had one in the lobby. Esports Arena not going to actually find the kill there, but I'm sure they're wondering what on earth just passed in front of them.
DZ looking like they're on the prowl as well. Speaking of prowlers, but they get eliminated. Well, Sharky does, at least throughout all of this, and looks like they're going to punch him back into safety and go for the gold knockdown res. That is huge for the reset potential. Handful of kills going on over towards DZ. Now on board with Aegon by AOC. The Rolling Thunder going to come in for Orioles, and they're going to go and take to the sky with the Horizon Grav Lift. I like this play. Cut off the side, put down some damage. Big burst damage coming in from Orioles right there. Nice placed grenade. I think he hits them with the stick as well. That should be enough damage for the knock. Instead, it's just going to be the shields going down. He's got the Digi-Threat coming through. That Watson doesn't stand a chance. This is Team Intel. One player alive, and before we can even finish a sentence, Team Intel taken down by the hands of partnered squad Aegon by AOC. Two partnered squads duking it out, and one much more victorious than the other.
That was a sick, nasty stick. Really loved watching that, and it's not every day that you get a fight like that, but it's also pretty infrequent that you don't see it converted into a more powerful position. Aegon by AOC finally have that grab lift back up and do have a little bit of height right now, but even a spot like this isn't where Aegon are aiming for in the end game. They've still got other squads looking at them, seeing if they're weak enough around this edge of the map with no real cover to be taken advantage of, but this little bit of rock will be their lifeline for now, no pun intended. And Aegon are going to be able to hold on for the next minute, perhaps two, until the zone pulls us hard to the east. This is what Razor, this is what Luminosity, this is what Buff Pathfinder are counting on.
And you could see from the map why the value of Bangalore kind of goes up in Stormpoint compared to World's Edge, because a lot of the cover is typically rocks, trees. It's the environment compared to buildings. Yes, there are buildings, that's where your loot's going to be found, but there's a lot more buildings in World's Edge. Look at Skyhook, Fragment, etc. There's so many areas to sit inside of buildings, and the Rolling Thunder doesn't hit inside of buildings. It just kind of forces people inside. In a situation like that, in a fight like that that they took outside in the rock area, that's such value for the Bangalore ultimate that it just kind of makes sense. Plus you're able to use the smokes in a handful of different reasons, right? To hit the resets, to cut off angles so you can go and rotate forward. And I just feel like Orioles played that so well in terms of placing it in the right spot, turns, putting the grab lift down at the right time, and then you could say, all right, we're gonna go Bloodhound instead of Seer because we know that that's gonna end up working out. And speaking of interesting plays, it's going to be Buff Pathfinder getting eliminated with the Revenant. So it's always good for the rest of the lobby when you take down the players that are trying to grief them. And that's exactly what Revenant is all about. We saw Sentinels using Revenant in Stormpoint early on when the map came out, and it didn't really work out for them too well.
It's a very surprising thing to watch happen as well, given that you already had Luminosity Gaming who had to walk straight by Razor to get there, so they ate damage from Razor in theory and from Revenant and still came out on top. That's a Pro League squad right there, a team that knows what they want, and Luminosity definitely want to find their second win of the day to push themselves right back up into contention for the top positions. Fourth right now with 49 points. They are absolutely picking and choosing for every bit that they can get, already having picked up the additional 3 along with the placement point that everyone now has. And this is where I believe it was 2 games ago you and I both said the game would slow down in game 6. I'm not sure if that still holds true. We don't have the numbers of teams anymore to sustain these long fights. There's a lot of open space that is unlike any of the rings we've seen on Stormpoint until now.
This is a long-range smoke coming in for Hockeys, and it does land over towards the high ground. And this is, again, the value of Bangalore. If you could smoke off one area, then smoke off your back, you know that you get a free rotation in 20 seconds until the next one comes up. But you can see pings happening for ESA. They're trying to find the players located directly down below them, and they are able to, but that team is now safe, so they're going to have to back off, check out where their next rotation is going to go, because Zone 3 will eat you up a little bit, and you can't out-heal this one. So the ship looks like it is going to be a potential safe spot for them. Nothing coming in for Phony on the scans, and that's a free rotation coming in for the ESA squad, who's on the verge of potentially getting inside of the top 3. I mean, they've had their ups and downs. We've seen a majority of them being ups, especially with the amount of damage they've been laying out, but they haven't been able to pick up that big dub quite yet.
Aegon making their way into the zone as well. We did talk about this rotation as soon as we saw them win the fight over by the rock, but it's not getting any easier at this point. No Valkyrie to make this all the smoother means that they have to bide their time, and it looks like the call may be to go around to the north of this rock, something very unusual for Aegon, for any squad, but that may very well catch other teams off guard. We know that Leave No Witnesses was off to the north earlier, and they could be caught up in a surprise rotation by Aegon, perhaps taken down with 6 KP already picked up out of this very talented squad. It's looking like they very well could make their argument for 5th yet again.
Not quite sure what the play is here for Aegon. Are they going towards this grav cannon to use that as cover? This is a very long rotation. The thing is, if they run into any teams here, there's not enough time to fight. They have to play this sneaky. They have to smoke this out and do something similar to what Hawkins was doing on Bangalore. But now things have opened up. They see the black hole. That should distract for them to be able to rotate forward. Maybe they can pick up some kills and get a rotation in.
Yeah, it's got to be a third party at this point. They have absolutely no time left. The ring's starting to close right now, and making your way up along the northern end of this is going to be impossible with plenty of teams like Esports Arena already guarding their backs over by Shipfall. You see another squad rolling in, and Aegon are biding their time. 4C waiting for the go button, as on the other side of this, Tyson play around the recently dropped Replicator and take to the skies with Cruisen's gravity lift to watch their own backs. No time left on this Horizon ult. Not going to be usable again by Cruisen, but some nice beams out of the 301 will at least keep them large and in charge for the moment, albeit with not a whole lot of cover and in an ever increasingly uncomfortable sandwich.
I mean, a Tyson sandwich does sound pretty good at this time of night after casting for a couple hours. I'm not going to lie, but hey, I digress. We'll talk about something else as Aegon by AOC. I wonder if they're playing on 360 hertz, D. I know that confuses you a little bit, but, you know, they're in a good spot. The rotation ended up working and the timing was done correctly. If you're going to play edge, you have to play hard edge. That's exactly what they did. Great opportunity to move forward. The knockdown shield being used. Switch on over to the R301. Problem is, no one's there for the rest of the team. This is a great opportunity for them to push, but they're playing this maybe a little too safe.
The fact that Orioles gets away with that ends up pushing Tyson into oblivion, now facing up against Mike and Ike. 9th with 31 points on the day. Can they push themselves up a place or two more? Can they redeem themselves from their 14th, 15th place finish just last week? Mike and Ike don't have a whole lot of room to negotiate with. They have barely any cover, but what they do have is a Valkyrie, and if they can outlast, if they can buy themselves a little bit of space, they may still be able to circumvent this fight ahead of them.
MJ's seen this before. They know that the Rolling Thunder is going to be on the ground. Instead of waiting for that, they're going to get aggressive with the grab lift, put in some serious damage. There goes the Seer ult as well. Orioles, the first one to get knocked. Not enough time to go for the heal, but the PK shots are connecting. One of the best sounds in the game when that thing hits, and Mike and Ike should be able to take down Aegon by AOC. Some great use of the knockdown shield. He's just tearing right through that one, and Wizard Coin is able to find the final kill. Aegon by AOC going out in 8th place after the 3rd place performance in game number 5. Res happening, and that is going to be some big points there for Mike and Ike, and they have improved on their placement from the previous week, and that's all you can really ask for, is just to get better week after week. So nice job by that squad. As we switch on over to another partner team, it's going to be ESA looking for some blood, and you can see Phony's very interested in using his ultimate, but right now they have to get a little bit forward over towards the zone. When you use that ultimate, the Rolling Thunder is happening as well. It's going to be a double Rolling Thunder, and at this point, which one's which?
Esports Arena gonna actually take a little bit of damage. Guessed wrong on that one, I suppose, but still do have to push up, saving the Seer ult for when they get a little bit closer, but eating a lot of damage in the meantime. Round starting to close, and they've got no way but forward. Out goes the Seer ult, down goes the Thermite, and Phony takes that little bit of damage for the cost of his rotation. The rest of the team following suit, now playing the roof right next to Luminosity Gaming. 5 squads left, leave no witnesses, are out, not going to be able to fight for that top spot of the lobby. Instead, Esports Arena keep themselves in this conversation. They were sitting at 5th going into this game. They are still sitting at 5th, but they want that much more. They need these points. No kills so far, but a huge amount of damage dealt by Phony. Great scan, cancels just a singular heal, but Esports Arena still playing things slow, are not trying to walk in until they get that knock. They've got another couple placement points as Mike and Ike go down. They've gotten flanked. Phony swings, but it's a double that's waiting for him, and he goes down. down. Luminosity finds the first pick, and nothing is going to come back. Zenile does not get something in response. Greek is half health. Zenile's been knocked down as CLG join the fray, but Luminosity have lost one, and it's a full thirst that's coming through soon. CLG smell blood in the water. They're going for that three-peat. They've already won 2 games. Can they pick up another? Denying the res. Esports Arena are gone. CLG are looking to make this just 2 teams left, but while they've got the building, they may as well get the loot. Mamba finishes off 2 kills and sets his team up for late game.
And CLG just got a team wipe right before that onto Mike and Ike, so they are very close to catching up to first place and taking that away from DZ. They're going to have to pick up a couple more kill points and the win here if they want to do so. And it looks like you still have Team Razor on the opposite side too staying alive, so another good performance here on Stormpoint from Team Razor. It's just a duo. What are they going to be able to do against CLG? Looking to win half of the games, Zia, as you mentioned. And hey, they've been playing this as a duo the entire time.
As a duo! As a duo! CLG, they have to have this information with the off angle that Abralele got earlier. Washi low now, and Mamba trading equal damage still gives CLG the advantage. Great angle from Abralele to pick up on anybody caught healing unawares. Blitz going to rotate back towards the squad while Abralele continues to take space. This is the victory condition for CLG right now. It's a complete 180 flank. It's a CLG sandwich, but Mamba is down. Washi gets finished off inside the smoke, inside the gas, and CLG pick up not their first, not their second, but their 3rd win of week number 6 here in Series E.
And I'm not quite sure if that's enough points to even take over first place, because you can see in the graphic in the bottom left corner that that's 68 points. It makes me wonder, how many points did DZ actually have? Was it 69? And was it potentially that last player lagging out to be the grief for CLG? Because if they had 3 players, maybe they end up getting that extra point. But 3 out of 6 wins. What a performance there for CLG, and what a pro night here for all of our players and all of our Apex Legends fans. What a night. I mean, there was high intensity right from the get-go with LG coming through swinging. And who would have thought after Mamba wins that 2 versus 1 that CLG would go to win 2 more games after that?
And we saw so many teams repeating their performances in these top 5. How many times did we see Luminosity? How many times did we see Leave No Witnesses, Dark Zero? But it was ultimately CLG that had the easiest time replicating, converting, and a lot of that I have to give to not just the fact that they are integrating really well with what looks like a pretty nice 3rd to pick up, but the fact that they've also got this compositional difference that, much like some of the squads that we were talking about earlier, has allowed CLG to embrace what makes them different, to play their own game. And how many other teams could be learning from that, not only pro, but partnered as well as we move forward in the season?
Yeah, no doubt about it, and it's nice to see Abralele finding a great squad to play with, because CLG has been on the up and up for quite some time. We've been casting their games for years now, and all of a sudden it seems like they've kind of found their momentum today. And sometimes, again, it comes with that spark. That 2v1 was disgusting. There's no way that they should have won that fight, but Mamba took out the RE45, put in some serious work with that Maggie, and then they won 3 out of 4 games, Dia, because they started their momentum boost in game number 3, and then they proved we're not just a World's Edge team, we're a Stormpoint team as well, maybe even better on Stormpoint than they are on World's Edge.
And it's really nice to see all these teams adapting, evolving, the individual players taking the next steps in their careers. And here at Series E, where we mix so many different stages of that. We have partner teams that are just starting out. We've got open teams that are making their first debut into competitive. We've got teams that are competing for the very top. And we get incredibly exciting, incredibly close end games like these. That's the privilege of being here at Series E, but you can continue, as we mentioned, to watch so many of these squads in the Apex scene as a whole, while Series E continues to foster the talent pipeline. That's going to be all for us, for myself and T-Squared on Week 6 of Series E. But while the Beanie Boys say bye-bye, we've got to throw it to Yeso to hear what he has to close us out.
I'm not going to lie to you. I saw y'all doing your audio checks and stuff before the show, and I noticed the beanies, and I almost had to rip the beanie off of one of our production team's heads and rock it on the show, but I couldn't do it to him. But I respect y'all coordinating the fit today. It looked good. The casting was even better, and the gameplay maybe even better than that, as CLG pick up 3 wins in 4 games here tonight, but they might not even grab first place. Not sure how things shook out on our Mobile One leaderboard, but we'll take a look at that here momentarily. Before we do so, let's jump into our final Mobile One high performance moment here of tonight's competition, as we take a look back at CLG's final win of the day. And it's this very well coordinated push on these 2 members of Razor. You've already laid down the ultimate from the Caustic, and Alb with the Digi threat up on the rock has all the vision he needs and easily cleans up these 2 players. So just a very straightforward and well played final little circle here from CLG. It's just good comms and the right choices here from the squad helps them secure 2 more KP and a win in game number 6. But the big question is, what did that mean for the leaderboard? Going into game 6, it was 63 points for Dark Zero. Let's see how things shook out. We'll pull up our Mobile One leaderboard right now and notice that it is just not quite enough. Dark Zero, with that consistency across all 6 games, they finish at 72 points, 4 points ahead of CLG in second place, and Luminosity finding themselves once again at the back end of the day after they struggled a few games after that win in game 1. They finish on a high note. They end at 63 points in third place. And also hats off to Leave No Witness with a really good performance today. And Esports Arena rounding out that top 5. And Aegon by AOC, I told you to watch out for them. They are our top finishing partnered squad here tonight at 6th place. They crested that 40-point mark that I had lined out for them just a little bit earlier. So well done for Aegon by AOC. That is going to do it for tonight's competition, folks. Very fun little bit of Apex we had here today, and awesome to get a full slate of games compared to last week's little bit of chaos there. But thank you so much for joining us all throughout. A reminder that the Series E content doesn't end here. We've got Guilty Gear Strive tomorrow night and Multiverses to end the week on Friday. So if you're a big FGC fan, make sure you don't miss out on any of those broadcasts, because those kick off at 4 p.m. Pacific time, as always, right here at twitch.tv/esports arena. So make sure not to miss out on that. Also, if you want to continue to support us here at Series E, as well as all of our players, make sure to head over to walmart.com/esports arena today. You can pick up products from our friends at Razer, Intel, Vitamin Water, and more. All of our Series E partners, you can find their products right over there, again, at walmart.com/esports arena. Of course, shopping over there supports us and the players that continue to compete here in Series E. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight, folks. My name is Yeso. Always a pleasure to host for you all. For myself, the entire live broadcast crew, and everybody here at Esports Arena, thank you so much for joining us here tonight, and we will see you again tomorrow.